was, whether you're Republican or Democrat, considered one of the most incredible things ever done in this country.
Some kind of gathering of top advisors this evening to talk about how to respond to the Epstein situation.
I don't know. I could ask you that question. I don't know of it, but I think here's the man right here. Look, the whole thing is a hoax. It's put out by the Democrats.
What's going on, everybody? Hopefully you're here, and it should be in 4K today. Hopefully it doesn't freeze, but I've been trying to get better technology. I got a good camera, so I hope you enjoyed this show. We're going to talk about how Trump is still covering for the Jeffrey Epstein situation and lying about it. He's also bragging about Operation Warp Speed while the Kennedy HHS is trying to look into mRNA vaccines, and they've come out with some new stuff recently. We're going to talk about all that, and I hope you guys stay tuned, and I'll hang out and probably read some super chats at the end. So if you want a super chat, wait till the end, and then I'll read them. If you do it before, I probably won't see it. Dream Rare Podcast starts now. Thanks for being here.
It's the Dream Rare Podcast. Welcome to the show. The way to get the news at the desk or on the road. Let's go. God is great and success in our control. The world is crazy, but we get better from obstacles. Yeah.
What's going on, everybody? How does it look? How does it sound? Give me a thumbs up if everything looks and sounds good. This should be the best. I got a 4K camera for a while, HD, and hasn't been working. So it does today. I'm going to read a few comments, then I'm just going to get it cracking. Drew said it's the Trumpy Wumpy show. I thought of a song in my head, like instead of Oompa Loompa, a Trumpy Wumpy, like a Trumpy Wumpy Dumpity Doo. I have another vaccine for you. We'll start with that clip. So he was asked about Kennedy basically going against the medical establishment by, I don't want to put words into Kennedy's mouth. And also, I don't know if the insane psychopath totalitarians on social media allow you to question the pharmaceutical industry, because nothing screams this is a trustworthy product like not allowing anybody to disagree. But I think the Kennedy administration came out and said essentially, you know, the mRNA technology, or at least vaccines, are not like worth the risk, you know, in their words or something along those lines. And, you know, of course, naturally, mainstream media journalists are freaking out about that. And they're like, Trumpy Wumpy, Trumpy Wumpy. What's going on in your administration? They're questioning your big, beautiful vaccines. And Trump goes, it's big, it's beautiful, I'm the best. Operation Warp Speed was one of the greatest achievements of all time. Here's Trumpy Wumpy in his own words, bragging about his socialist pharmaceutical government scam that is one of the most egregious and corrupt government pharmaceutical collaborations in modern history. Let's listen.
You were the driving force behind Operation Warp Speed, these mRNA vaccines that are the gold standard.
Right.
Now your health secretary is pulling back all the funding for research. He's saying that the risks outweigh the benefits, which puts him at odds with
Research
the
on
entire
what?
medical community and with you. What is going on?
Research on what?
Into mRNA vaccines.
Well, we're going to look at that. We're talking about it, and they're doing a very good job. And, you know, that is a pass. With Operation Warp Speed was, whether you're Republican or Democrat, considered one of the most incredible things ever done in this country. The efficiency, the way it was done, the distribution, everything about it has been amazing. But, you know, that was now a long time ago. And we're on to other things. But we are speaking about it. We have meetings about it tomorrow at 12 o'clock, and we'll determine. We're looking for other answers to other problems, to other sicknesses and diseases, and I think we're doing really well. Yes, ma'am, please.
Thank you, Mr. President.
This is going to be an interactive show. So Josh on Facebook said, your rap sucks. I like your news info, but it makes you look like a kid. And he spelled rap W-R-A-P. So I'm the rapper. I'm supposed to be the one that can't spell good, but I have pretty good linguistics. So if you're going to diss me, you got to at least, if you can't spell a 3-letter word, then I think it's time for, you know, maybe an online university or a YouTube tutorial on grammatics. So good luck there, buddy. But that's a pretty embarrassing mess up trying to make fun of me. But anyway, on to the more important topic, Trump bragging about the vaccine. You know, I guess there's a lot of things I could say and I've said so many things about this. I mean, I talked about it for 2 years straight, but I think obviously Trump needs credit for this. Like, he wants credit. If you think the vaccines are good, then it's like, oh, wow, he deserves credit. If you think they're bad, he also deserves credit. But in general, so many Republican influencers and media figures on our side, like people that run big social media accounts, they hang out with Trump, they get interviews, they're invited everywhere. I feel like they're very responsible as well, because for years Trump has been doing this. He said they saved 100 million lives. Obviously, that's not true. There's like no data to prove that. And I think even like Fauci and Bill Gates wouldn't make a lie that big. But Trump, he just likes to speak in terms of like millions and billions and trillions. I think he's kind of like on a loop. You're like, how many fries are in that McDonald's thing? And there's like 50. He's like, it might be a million, it might be a billion, it might be a trillion, I don't know. And you're like, are those the only numbers you know? He's like, I've been rich since I was a kid. I don't know any other numbers. Every time I try to count, I go 1, 2, 3 million, billion, trillion. He's like, I just skip all the brokey, numbers for the broke boys like you guys. But I like to skip to the millions. But he said the vaccine saved 100 million lives. He said it was one of the greatest human achievements. And now he's saying it's like one of the greatest things ever done. It's obviously not. But the reason Trump feels so comfortable lying is because, everybody will pretend like they're upset. Like, I don't want to name certain names right now, but you could think of Republican Trumpy influencers who every time he does something super egregious and evil that they'd never let Lindsey Graham go on, or they'd never let, I would say Joe Biden or anything go on. They'll be like, oh, that's really messed up. And then the next day they'll get back like a dog with their tongue out, like, Trump. So he never feels any need to stop doing what he's doing, because he just knows that his big supporters, and especially the ones in media, they're like dogs on a leash for Trump. So he's like, yeah, I could pretty much do whatever I want. And I feel like it's led to him being even crazier. I mean, on a domestic issues, like on certain things with, like economy, et cetera, Trump is an interesting guy. Like, he's definitely more interesting than Joe Biden or Kamala. I think it makes total sense to want Trump in. He's the adult in the room. He definitely does have some he seems like he has a pulse, and he does talk about things that matter. But in general, I do feel like he's been getting worse recently, because it's just like he just does whatever. It's like he's endorsing Lindsey Graham. He's telling people that Marco Rubio is going to be in the White House next with JD Vance. Marco Rubio is the same puppet. I want to say this too, because I'm going to go, there's a lot of things I want to say, so I'm all over the place. But Marco Rubio, when Trump ran, he said that Marco Rubio was going to be the Adelson family's perfect little puppet, and that's why the Adelson family was backing Trump. Since then, Trump and the GOP in his first term took $424 million from Sheldon Adelson. Sheldon Adelson passed, rest in peace, respect to the family. But Miriam Adelson took over the family fortune, and Miriam Adelson gave Trump $100 million. So if you're counting, that's $500 million that Trump got from one family. And Trump admitted himself that they always come to the White House and ask for things for Israel. So Trump has turned into the same puppet that Rubio was. And now Trump's trying to convince his followers and supporters that it's actually like Marco Rubio's secretly a good guy now. And he's super, for you because Charlie Kirk says so, because Charlie Kirk's essentially a middleman. So I don't want to be too disrespectful or step on people's toes, but it's just the truth. It's like the MAGA movement is essentially being lured into thinking that Mark Levin, Lindsey Graham and Marco Rubio are actually cool. But since nobody actually thinks Lindsey Graham's cool, Trump just hires other people that are exactly like Lindsey Graham, but smoother, like a Marco Rubio. He's just more of a diplomat and more of a, statesman than Lindsey Graham is. Lindsey Graham is an embarrassment to everybody. So they just they're like, we'll get you reelected, but just stop talking. And, you can go on Fox News, but don't embarrass us too much. So they just find new people that are very similar to Lindsey Graham, but don't have the branding of Lindsey Graham. That's what Trump's becoming. Everyone's allowed to like who they like and share who they share. But it's a little weird to me that, I think most Trump supporters think that Trump is more like a Tucker Carlson, or he's more like a, name some independent, even like a Joe Rogan or something. Not that he has to be, but it's like if you go to Trump's True Social, Mark Levin is his favorite journalist. He's just like, Mark Levin's the greatest. He's got a new book. He's saying this. He's saying that. Check out Mark. I think he's posted Mark Levin more than any other news anchor in the country. But I think even people that are pro-Israel on Trump's side, and even people that are super into other Zionist programming media, they don't even like Mark Levin that much. He's really not that popular. He's not a top figure on Fox News. Tucker blew his ratings out of the water when he was there, and still does, I'm guessing, from the podcast with a different audience. But yet Trump is mimicking and hiring and becoming all of these people that MAGA hates, except MAGA can't see it when Trump does it, because he has this masterful way of being like, yeah, I'm not them, but I am them, but I'm going to push them, and you're going to get mad for a day, but then you'll forget about it, and then I'll say something funny, and then you'll laugh at it, and then we'll move on. He's a very good social networker. But I want to get back to Operation Warp Speed before I move on to the Epstein files. And I don't want to give out too much, but I've been talking to somebody to like really document what happened during the lockdowns because it happened so fast, everybody forgot. And then it turns into this left-right paradigm where the Democrats are blaming the right. Then there's the George Floyd riots, and then there's January 6th. Like most people don't even know what hit them during the lockdown and Operation Warp Speed because there were so many elements of confusion and chaos going on, probably by design. But when it comes to Operation Warp Speed, it's one of the most evil and corrupt socialist government scams in modern history, in my opinion. What it was is they gave a bunch of money to a bunch of pharmaceutical companies in order to rush this vaccine as fast as they possibly could and get a bunch of therapeutics and other pharmaceuticals that they claimed that they needed. And then once they got hundreds of millions of dollars, then the government used socialism, not capitalism, not free market, not what Trump people pretend like they like. Socialism, the government bought hundreds of millions of doses of Pfizer. The government bought hundreds of millions of doses of the other ones. And then Joe Biden gets in and he does the same thing. He buys hundreds of millions of doses. That's socialism. That's not free market capitalism. And if Republicans stuck to free market capitalism, there would be no massive scandal going on right now. My best analogy that I've always used, Republicans are John Stockton. They lob the ball up. And then Democrats are Karl Malone and they dunk it in your face, or Scottie Pippen and Jordan. And then they say, well, I didn't dunk it in your face. Of course not, but you gave them the ball to dunk it in my face, so you're also responsible. They know what they're doing, but then they rely on their left and right paradigm where they'll say to Republicans, they'll be like, well, we didn't mandate it. Of course they didn't, and mandates are corrupt. But that doesn't mean that Operation Warp Speed was good. They set us up, and we all knew that the tyranny was incoming because when you give pharmaceuticals PrEP Act and the National Childhood Vaccine Injury Act, liability shields, a bunch of free money, you think they're just going to spend billions of dollars and be like, you know what, actually, the trials aren't that good, so we're not going to give them to you, and there's going to be no mandates. It was all planned. It was all orchestrated, and both parties were in on it. And I just want to say this because there's so much I could say about the pandemic, and maybe perhaps later if I'm inspired. But I want to get to this point because it's the number one most propagated literal lie that I've ever heard, probably in right-wing politics. And it was hatched from people, and I'm not just like a mainstream media, like, oh, everything's QAnon. It's not. But it's those type of people, the people that are Trump butt sniffers and Trump deriders, where literally it's like all they do is just eat off of Trump's plate and get invited to places and try to get in with the Republican Party. They couldn't simply just admit that Trump was a socialist scammer and that he sold us out to the pharmaceutical industry and that he's taking meetings with Bill Gates and listening to him, which all of this is provable, by the way, but nobody does good reporting. So everybody on the right will tell you, oh, Bill Gates is so evil and he's a Democrat, but Trump's so great. Trump is friends with Bill Gates. Trump met with Bill Gates. Trump hired people to run the land of America in this term, like Doug Burgum, who were funded by Bill Gates. Bill Gates bought up all the farmland, in a controversial court case when Doug Burgum was the governor that he just so happened to funded. Trump and the Republicans Trump hires are so in on it with Bill and not opposing him at all. Trump took a meeting with him in 2018. Bill Gates told him about a universal flu vaccine. And then before the pandemic, Trump passed an executive order for a universal flu vaccine that Bill Gates told him about in a meeting and told the press 8 months later. Unless they just spontaneously thought of those independently, it seems like Bill Gates told Trump to jump and Trump jumped. But that's a whole different story. But anyway, nobody wants to admit all this stuff. So what a lot of these Republican influencers and media people do is they close their eyes, they close their ears, and they go, I don't want to believe Trump's bad. I don't want to believe Trump's working with Bill Gates. I don't want to believe Trump's a socialist, even though he is. I don't want to believe he printed more money than Obama than he did, but he did. I don't want to believe all these things. So let me just use my imagination to pathologically lie to my audience and say, how do we twist this super evil thing that's super socialist against all of our values? Trump took $1 million from Pfizer for his inauguration, took meetings with Bill Gates. He sold us out. Even Kennedy talked about that, in his interviews before Trump hired him this time, which is great that he hired him. But I'm just saying, and everyone says, how do I twist this horrible thing that is totally against everything I believe and just make it into some fantasy fairy tale that makes everybody feel good? And then they told everybody in unison. So literally now to this day, people believe this. They're like, well, Trump rushed the vaccine in order to save us from a 6-year lockdown. Doesn't even make sense. Sweden didn't lock down. They still got a vaccine. Had nothing to do with the lockdown. The lockdown was the fear-mongering tactic in America in order to not only take all our sovereignty away and print a bunch of money so they could scam us and rob us and give it to all their friends, but it was also always leading to a vaccine and a vaccine mandate. So it's like this idea that you think we would have been locked down for 7 years if Trump didn't rush a vaccine. First of all, are you that pathetic? You think Florida and people in Texas and Georgia were just going to sit there for 5 years if a pharmaceutical vaccine wasn't there? It doesn't even make any sense. It didn't affect the lockdowns in the red states. It didn't stop the lockdowns in the blue states. The only thing Trump losing really did was it allowed Biden to federally mandate it. But even if Trump won, there were still going to be statewide mandates. There were still going to be company mandates, and there were going to be lawsuits galore. The mandates were always coming. It's just Biden federally mandated it. So Biden is evil, and Democrats deserve the credit, the evil credit, for locking everybody down and longer and mandating the vaccines harder. But these are separate issues. It's like now they've moved the Overton window so far where they're like socialism, communism, and a 30-day lockdown with a vaccine scam, is good because look what the Democrats did. They did that, so this is good. Like that's how dumb people are. Is they both go in a handbasket or a train to hell, and they're like, but Trump's only going 90 miles an hour, and Democrats are going 180 miles an hour. Yeah, but 10 years ago they were going 5 miles an hour. Like you haven't even realized that. So it's such a masterful plan by the left and the right, and using the left and right paradigm to make everybody forget about stuff. They used the George Floyd riots for the left. Now these morons, I know I make fun of Republicans or I criticize Republicans too much because I am a registered Republican and they piss me off because they're the party that's supposed to be representing me, but they're not. But I don't even talk about Democrats that much because it's low-hanging fruit. Let's talk about Democrats. We're in a lockdown. Like we're literally being treated like slaves and caged animals. And a bunch of Democrats are like, you know what really matters? Rioting in the streets. Let's talk about racism. Every race in America is on a lockdown. We're all being treated like we're not citizens. And leftists are so stupid. They don't even realize this. It's like, I don't even talk about leftists. It's like talking about like a bunch of kids playing on a Fisher-Price net. They're not even in my league. They're not even on the arena. They're not on the court. They're not going to save the country until they wake up because they're too stupid about everything. It's like, so they gave, I'm not saying this is the only reason it happened, but it's like the George Floyd riots were over covered in the media. So it's like liberals are so stupid. They don't even care about their own jobs. They don't even care about their own freedom, their own liberty. They don't care about the entire economy being imploded because of a freaking, COVID virus that they said came from China. And then it's like, and then the right is onto this stuff. What happened to the right? They gave everybody January 6th. And it's like, oh, let's follow the vaccine salesman to the Capitol. And the vaccine salesman's going to be like, oh, and then everybody's going to get arrested. And then all the organizers are going to get arrested. And now who can organize against vaccine mandates? Nobody, because Trump set you up and then handed the Operation Warp Speed baton to Biden. I'm not saying this is all planned, and I'm not saying Trump purposely did this, but that's what happened. I mean, either he's the biggest idiot in the world that doesn't care about you and is so egotistical that he didn't even think to leave you in a better position, or it's all just a WWE show. And the only way they get away with this is through the left and right paradigm. If liberals weren't so brainwashed, they would have been like, you know what? This is crazy that Trump's locking us down. But these people are so dumb. They're like, Trump's a fascist tyrant, and I'm mad that the fascist tyrant's not locking me in my house longer. You think Trump's a fascist tyrant and you want Trump to take your freedom away? Like, these people are idiots. So then Republicans are like, anomaly, you're a liberal if you tell me something. They program you with this fake opposition. I want to say what it really is, but I don't want to get in trouble. But I'll just say it. Zionist programming, fake opposition Republican Zionist programming on almost everybody that they're feeding you. So all is like, I don't want the trannies to play sports and I don't want the girls to be boy. And it's like, I understand. I'm not saying that no one should talk about that. First Amendment. And obviously that's the way humanity was for like 95% of life. But that's not the only issue. They feed you like these simplistic issues. And then they're like, now we need a war with Iran. Now it's Obama that's in the Epstein files. It's a liberal thing. Even Alex Jones is sitting there saying, oh, it's 98% Democrats. That's what he said in his video recently. Alex Jones, I know you're lying. You know you're lying. You know that I know that you know you're lying. We all know you're lying. Go watch your video of what you said about the Israel lobby during the Clinton administration 20 years ago. You used to complain about how all of them were working for Israel. And now with Donald Trump, who's literally probably the most compromised politician on that topic and has filled the cabinet with the exact same thing you were complaining about with the Clinton cabinet. Now, all of a sudden, Alex Jones doesn't know. Now, all of a sudden, Alex Jones wants to pretend it's just Democrats and the Epstein files. Now, all of a sudden, Alex Jones is like a Q-tard where every 2 seconds he's like, yeah, but maybe it's a three-dimensional plan from Trump. Maybe you aren't the guy you were 20 years ago, and you're now just acting stupid on this topic because you're friends with people in the Trump administration. I don't know. But I'm getting a little bit tired of it. It's like Alex is like, oh, I'm so mad at Trump for Operation Warp Speed. And then 3 weeks later, he's like, oh, he's a savior. He's a hero. It's like, come on, bro, get with it. People get mad at me because I voted for Trump, and I understand it. A lot of people hate the two-party system, and I do too. It was a strategic vote, but still, I wasn't like, he's a hero. I'm like, no, he sucks. He's a liar. But, I'll pick him over Biden. And not that I even have to justify it, but in general, this is my thought process. If Democrats get in office, nobody cares. There's no one to talk to. They're not even pretending to represent what I want. Like, I'm not somebody who says the two-party system sucks and I have no thoughts about it. I'm more conservative. I'm more right-wing when it comes to policy. I think that Republicans pretend to be on my side more. And I think that if the country is going to awaken, it's going to be through the current right-wing populism, not what the left-wingers are talking about. Left-wingers are on this Bolshevik self-imploding stuff, and right-wingers are getting misled as well. But I believe that if there's going to be some sort of political awakening, it's going to happen through the right more than the left. And when it comes to the right, when they're not in office, they just look at how bad the Democrats are, and the Democrats are bad. And then the right-wingers go, oh, when we get in office, we're really going to do this for you. So then there's no progress. There's no Biden to talk to because Biden doesn't even pretend to represent my values. He's working for things that I don't agree with proudly. With Trump, at least when he's in office, he's supposed to do what we want. He pretends to do what we want. So now it's our job to hold him accountable. If Trump didn't get in office, they'd be sitting there saying in 4 more years, hire us. And then they get hired and it's the same loop on cycle. It still is. But I do believe that his side needs to wake up, and that's the true awakening. Of course, Democrats do too. But even strategically now, I think he's just the better option. I think he's more of an adult in the room. He hires better judges on average. RFK on average is doing better than Biden's health people. The border being closed is massive. And then now we have all these issues to talk about. Now let's talk about these issues. Everybody that Trump hires seems to work for Israel, and all they seem to do is care about Israel. They don't even pretend to work for America. The second they get in, they're like, anti-Semitism, 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 Israel, Israel. It's like, can you at least pretend to care about our interests for like 2 weeks so you could trick people? Like even pro-Israel Zionist boomers are starting to awaken to the fact that it's a little bit ridiculous. Like, even if you're the most pro-Israel person in the world, right? I'm pro-America. It doesn't mean I just sit there and say, I'm pro-America. So that means that all of America is not corrupt and everything that every governor does is great because I love America. This is what I want to explain in a nice way to people that are into that, like, oh, that's hateful what you're saying. Why? Like, when you talk to somebody that's like a super Zionist out Christian boomer, they treat Israel in a way that they don't even treat their own kids, that they don't even treat their own religion. Like they'll criticize churches. I almost said mosques. Obviously, they'll criticize mosques, but it's like they'll criticize churches. They'll criticize certain sects of Christianity. They'll bash certain pastors. They'll say this one's rich. They don't like the Pope, right? They don't like Democrats. They don't like most Republicans. But when it comes to the foreign country that has speech laws in our country, now everything's hateful and you can't even mention it. It's like you don't even treat your own kids with that. It's like basically you're saying you are my new religion. Like it's not even a religion based off Jesus. It's a religion based off a country that doesn't even believe in Jesus, or believe he was your Lord and Savior. So it doesn't make logical sense, even if you support that country, to be that insane. Like I could talk to any pro-Israel person, and this conversation isn't had in mainstream Republican politics, because if it is, everybody would agree with me, and then they'd have to get the speech laws out of America. Why are there speech laws in America? Why are the same international speech laws? They're actually trying to arrest people in Argentina for violating the IHRA anti-Semitism hate speech laws. The same international laws in Germany, in France, in the UK, in Canada, in Australia, in Argentina, are the same ones they're passing into America. And the people passing them into America and lobbying to have them into America are bragging. Hold on a second. I know it's freezing a little bit. I apologize. I'm gonna just lower I just have to lower the HD. So now you saw what it looks like if I get my HD thing working. This is a little bit lower quality, but it won't freeze. Hopefully I can figure that out because it looks super sick with the 4K. But anyway, the people lobbying for the speech laws in America are bragging. Haha, we're arresting people in these countries. They're doing anti-Semitism. They're questioning Israel. They're doing this. They shouldn't say this. You think they don't want to do that in America? They can't do it in America now because we have the First Amendment. But if they could, they would. So I really want to wake people up to this. Like there's so much information coming in. I would literally lose my mind if I tried to like report on all this all the time. So I do my best to like wind down and get it out there. But the organizations that are pushing the IHRA hate speech laws into America, they're writing articles on their website being like, look, an Argentinian politician's getting arrested for anti-Semitism for words. Look, someone's getting arrested in Germany for words. Look, somebody's getting, charged in the UK for words. Oh, but we're going to pass them into America, but we just want to stop hate. We don't want to infringe on your First Amendment. They can't. They want to, but they can't. And Trump and DeSantis and Chuck Schumer and Kathy Hochul and Eric Adams and from left wing to right wing, they're almost all in on it. Look at who they're mad at, and that'll tell you who's not in on it. Thomas Massie, Marjorie Taylor Greene. These are one of the only two people that know what they're doing. They're pushing speech laws into America in order to take away our First Amendment eventually. And I'll tell you what, with COVID, like if you were talking about lockdowns and vaccines and mandates like 2 years before the lockdown, you look like a psychopath. Everyone's like, no, they're not. But a lot of that stuff was in legislation. Like there's tweets of mine from 2019 before the pandemic that have gone super viral because people are like, you're a prophet. How did you know vaccine mandates were coming like a year before the lockdown? I'm not a prophet for knowing that. I just pay attention. They were trying to do it in states. In fact, they already do it in sneaky ways, but there was a big push to mandate vaccines in New Jersey. Myself, Kennedy, Dr. Shiva, Candace Owens at the time, I think, noticed it. A lot of people noticed it, but also a lot of people didn't. So it's like, if you actually pay attention to the legislation they're laying down, you can be a prophet too, because you're not prophesizing like you got a message in your sleep. You're just researching. It's like they're writing this in bills years prior, and then they slowly try to just wean our society, brainwash us through the mass media to get enough public support for it, and then they implement it. And if they can't get enough public support, here comes a tragedy to try to push it even further. And every time there's a tragedy, it doesn't matter what race, what religion, what, if it's gay or this or a school or that, or, this happened there. I mean, maybe not every tragedy, but a lot. They use it to be like, you know what? Now the Second Amendment's kind of bad. Now the First Amendment goes too far. We know their playbook. I'm not saying they caused those events, but enough tragedies happen in America because it's a crime-filled shithole at this point. I love America. I'm not trying to hate on it, but I like the fact that Trump's talking about policing the cities. I don't know about if his methods will work, but that's my concern, right? We could talk about foreign countries. We could talk about Iran. We could talk about Russia. I know Trump's donors and handlers and, puppet masters want to destroy Russia so they could be pathetic like the rest of Western Europe and just infiltrate them. So they're just withering away and their societies and cultures are no more. That's what Trump's handlers are doing. He's like, oh, it's Putin's fault now. I've seen the light. You haven't seen the light, Donald Trump. We know who your donors and handlers are, and we know what they think of Europeans who don't play ball with the bankers and the military-industrial complex. We know what all our allies look like. Just look at all our allies, right? Who are our best allies? Besides Israel, who has policies that we're not allowed to enforce because then it makes us hateful. Canada cooked, UK cooked, Germany cooked, France cooked. Who are we fighting? Russia not cooked. Ukraine now is like becoming like San Francisco with their gay laws, and then Russia's moving in the other direction. It's like, it's not a big secret, but anyway, I don't want to go down that path because there's a lot to say about that, and it's just probably unnecessary for this live stream. So speaking of things, let's get to the next topic because I need a sip of water. I've been talking too much. Here's Donald Trump talking about the Epstein situation, and dude, Howard Lutnick was laughing hysterically. He looked like a little kid watching the Teletubbies. Trump's like, the Epstein, it's a hoax. And Howard Lutnick's like, yeah. It's like, why is Howard Lutnick always there? I think he's like the Secretary of Commerce or something like that. I don't know his exact title. But if you look up the other guy that was there before, what's his name? Howard Lutnick, It was a guy named Wilbur Ross. Do you remember Wilbur Ross standing right next to Donald Trump like he's the vice president in like 50 different speeches? I don't even remember seeing Wilbur Ross once. I mean, maybe he was there, but it's like Howard Lutnick is always there. Every time Trump talks about Epstein, Howard Lutnick is right there to just laugh in your face about it. Trump's like, it's a hoax. It's a made up thing by the Democrats. And Howard Lutnick's like, yeah, we're having so much fun. Yeah, Epstein wasn't real. It's like, all right, bro, here's the clip.
Look, the whole thing is a hoax. It's put out by the Democrats because we've had the most successful 6 months in the history of our country. And that's just a way of trying to divert attention to something that's total bullshit. Okay? Yeah, please.
A new Gallup poll said.
All right, so now with the Epstein situation, I got to calm down. I'm over here sweating like I don't even know, a grease monkey or something. Isn't that what they said in was it dodgeball? He's like, I'm sweating like a grease monkey out here. Shout out to Ben Stiller before he was annoying like all of the people that I used to watch on television. But anyway, Sacha Baron Cohen, Howard Stern, all these guys are such losers now. But with the Epstein situation, there's actually, most people don't buy this, but I can't believe it. On my Facebook page, like, because so many boomers watch this like fake opposition programming all day with like Fox and Newsmax and stuff, they're like, maybe Trump's right. Maybe it is a Democrat hoax. Here's what I'll say, okay? It just like COVID, Trump controls the framing and then makes people be like, yeah, no, there wasn't a big idea at all because of the Democrats and the left. It's like, he's such a masterful brainwasher with this stuff. Let's just say he's right about this, right? Let's just say the Democrats edited the Epstein files, and the government Epstein files are totally edited, totally fake, and totally gay or something, right? Let's just say Trump's totally right about that. The Epstein situation is still not a hoax. Epstein was somebody that was well connected to everybody, every politician. People realized at this point he probably worked for an intelligence community, if a foreign or domestic or both. The fact that he pretty much either escaped or died in jail just shows the fact that he was so powerful that even like a high security prison was no match for him, because that's how connected he was. And clearly, it's a huge part of this narrative and huge part of the story. And if you're smart enough and paying attention enough, you can already figure it out without Trump's permission or Epstein files. You don't need Epstein files to figure out who Epstein worked for. So I'm not asking him to show me everything that the government has on Epstein. And I'm not saying that everything in the Epstein files are necessarily true, like Democrats could have manipulated them or something. Obviously, I don't know that that is a true narrative, but I'm just giving you that. Let's just say all of that is true. If Trump really cared about getting to the bottom of the Epstein stuff, he could say, well, Democrats slightly manipulated the files in some way to try to make me look bad, but since I am innocent, I will actually look into this and figure out who he's connected to. But the issue is he's connected to Trump and all his friends. He's connected to Trump. He's connected to Bill Gates. Trump's friends with Bill Gates. He takes meetings with Bill Gates. He hires people that Bill Gates funds. This illusion that Trump is like enemies with Bill Gates is only in the heads of people who would smell Trump's farts and say they smelled like Mar-a-Lago gold toilets or something. These are the only people that know that, which is 95% of the MAGA movement at this point, because it's literally like a cult where you watch Trump dance to the YMCA and he brainwashes you like it's Mugatu in Zoolander. You know, in Zoolander, they play that song and it like brainwashes the people. That's like Trump. He's like, why? And they're like, actually, Operation Warp Speed did save the world from lockdowns. And maybe Epstein was a hoax because Democrats and Jim Comey, he like brainwashed you with that. So it's like, Trump's not going to reveal, he wants to close the case on the Epstein, not because it's a Democrat hoax, but because all his friends are in on it, including him. He has no interest in being like, well, okay, let's just say that that is a Democrat file. We're going to work on our own file that shows off all the Democrats that are actually in on it. You know, Alex Jones claims that it's 98% Democrats, which isn't true. I mean, I can't say specifically, but it's Democrats and Republicans. Epstein, like trying to act like Epstein was a blue or a red thing is fake opposition at this point. I'm not saying Alex is fake opposition, but I know he's smarter than this. And for him to be like, you know, it's 98% Democrats, bro, you know who Epstein worked for. You know, you have an idea, just like everybody. You think it's about red or blue? No, it's about both, compromising red and blue. It's like with AIPAC. Even though the Israel lobby seems like it's stronger in the right because the right are like outwardly proud of it and the left just hide it. If you look at AIPAC, they lobby both sides of politics. They lobby Democrats and Republicans. more Republicans take money from AIPAC than Democrats, but they spend more money on Democrats because it costs more to get a Democrat because Democrats aren't as pro-Israel. So if you look at the amount of people that are I wouldn't say owned, but taking AIPAC money and working with AIPAC, it's way more than 50% of Congress. It's more than 50% of Democrats. It's upwards of like 70, 80%. It's like 90% of Republicans. So if I looked at AIPAC and I was like, AIPAC is a Democrat thing, it's 98%. It's not true. Now you're creating confusion purposely in order to get people to think it's red versus blue when it's a layer above red versus blue, Alex Jones. And I know, Alex Jones, you made your whole career telling people it's above red versus blue. You called out the Clintons. You called out the Bushes. Now Donald Trump seems like he has more foreign agents, essentially, or people that care more about a foreign country than America in his administration than anyone we've ever had, if not at bare minimum equal. And now you don't know about what you used to talk about, and now it's all Democrats. Bro, get a grip. You know it had nothing to do with red versus blue. It had to do with infiltrating red versus blue, mass media, anybody influential for some sort of reason, unless you're just going to go with this narrative that Jeffrey Epstein was like a lone wolf creep. That's what Pam Bondi's trying to say. Oh, he just had stuff on his computer and he's a freak. And, it's like, yeah, it's just him. Really? That's all it was. And I'm not saying everybody on the list is guilty. People have these straw mans for me where they go, well, the Democrats could have edited it. Sure. Well, everyone on the list isn't guilty. Just because RFK flew on his plane a few times doesn't mean RFK is guilty. Absolutely. But the fact that RFK works at Health and Human Services and he's crying about anti-Semitism isn't really helping his case, because your job is not to cry about hate speech in America. And I want to be very clear. Anti-Semitism, when a government agent says it or a government officer says it, is not what you think it is in your head because you listen to Charlie Kirk and Fox News and Newsmax. Anti-Semitism has an official government definition. So when a government operative or a government agent says it, it means what the government says it says in law. It means what they're passing in legislation in Arkansas. It means what they're passing in legislation in Tennessee and Virginia and Florida. It has a definition. So many people are like, well, it's what I think it is because I listened to somebody on the news station. No, it's not. I know what the definition is. I've damn near memorized it because I've reported on it for 6 years now when everybody was ignoring it to make a bunch of money in politics. And everybody acted stupid for 5 years, racked up a bunch of money, and now they're all coming out because it's a little more profitable now. Now they're like, oh, I came to my senses and now I figured it out. You knew it 7 years ago. You just wanted to save face. That's fine. And some people woke up earlier, but in general, go to the State Department website and you can see what the definition is. And if you read the definition, ask yourself why the definition is the same definition as the UK. Ask yourself why it's the same definition as France. Ask yourself why it's the same definition as Canada and Germany. Ask why the lobbyists and the groups lobbying to push them in America are bragging on their websites that people are getting arrested for violating the IHRA hate speech laws in Argentina. Okay? It's not what you think it is. It's what they say it is. So when RFK is at Health and Human Services, supposed to be working with medicine and health, in a country that our health care system is completely screwed, they're scamming us at every turn, and it's just like a nonsense factory. He's got the time to cry about hate speech that includes the word Jesus in it. They don't want you to say that certain people killed Jesus. Now they're policing biblical discussion with their anti-Semitism hate speech laws. Now you can't say that certain people have dual loyalty. If Saudi Arabia passed me, I say this all the time, but it's like, I don't have loyalty to any other country besides America. If Saudi Arabia passed Saudi Arabian speech laws that said, you can't criticize Saudi Arabia more than we want to. You can't say that Saudi Arabian billionaires have dual loyalty to Saudi Arabia. You can't say the Saudi Arabian politicians have dual. I would just assume, oh yeah, they're trying to cover up the fact that they are doing that. And now they're trying to take away my First Amendment right to talk about it so they can achieve more power. Wouldn't matter what country was doing it. Oh, shoot. Sorry about that. I don't know why I froze, folks, but this is why I don't go live as much. But yeah, the sound is good. And then I'm gonna move on. But as you can see, the potential is really high here, and I haven't been going live as much because I want to go live and it to be 100% clean and like flawless production every time. And clearly I can't figure it out. But anyway. No matter what country was doing this, I would think the same exact thing. If they were trying to kick out non-citizen college students because they criticized Saudi Arabia and they had a clause that said now if you're committing anti-Saudi Arabianism on social media, you can't become a U.S. citizen. It doesn't matter what country was doing this, I would be saying the same thing. So once again, before I move on, this is my message to people who don't get it and just want to cry anti-Semitism. Get the speech laws out of America. Stop policing college students for one race, one religion, and one foreign country. Like, there is no rule that you have to worship Saudi Arabia or you can't become a US citizen. But now, because Trump's entire administration is compromised, he's passing a rule that says that if you're being too anti-Semitic on X and our government sees it, then you can't become a US citizen. Well, what do you consider anti-Semitism? I know what you do because I read the State Department website. With the State Department website definition, which is the global international definition, which shows how compromised every country is because they're passing the same definition. Like, oh yeah, they just came up with them that themselves. No, they didn't. Tucker Carlson wouldn't be able to become a U.S. citizen. Ron Paul wouldn't be able to become a U.S. citizen. Pat Buchanan wouldn't be able to become a U.S. citizen. Candace Owens wouldn't be able to become a U.S. citizen. Marjorie Taylor Greene wouldn't be able to become a U.S. citizen. Thomas Massey wouldn't be able to become a U.S. citizen. But it would be a bunch of Ben Shapiro's and Mark Levins that would be allowed to, and anybody that bends the knee. So it's like Trump on every level is rigging America for Israel, on every level. I knew he was horrific on this topic, and I know how bad the Democrats are on other topics. So I rolled the dice with the Republican Party for reasons I explained earlier. Even for how compromised I knew Trump was, I mean, it's like he's going to shocking levels of hubris to rig America for Israel on every level of America. Speech, citizenship, colleges. Colleges have issues. Our country has issues. I'm not saying to not fix colleges, but fix the crime in the cities. That affects everybody. Fix the cities, fix the universities. But if you're rigging it for one race, one religion, and one country, and it's provable, you crying hate speech, which is what Republicans and Democrats do. Sorry about that, folks. I don't know what's going on, but I just got to go back and forth. Is not going to work. Do I have to lower the quality again? Now I can't even do 720. Here, I'm going to lower it even more. All right, we should be back. I'm sorry about the freeze, and hopefully the audio sounds good while it's freezing. I think it does, and like I said, I will figure this out. It's just taking me a lot of research. I got a new camera, a new setup. The program I use is garbage. I use it on a browser, and it's just garbage. So I think it's more the browser thing I'm using than that, but I'll get to it. And to be honest, like I said, I'm going to hang out for a bit, so I want to answer questions at the end. Let me play a few clips real quick because I just want to point this out about Tucker Carlson. I like Tucker. I appreciate him. I've always liked him. Even when he wasn't talking about this topic, I didn't care. I always thought he was cool, and he talked about interesting topics. Like, I don't care what people cover as long as you're not being a phony and gatekeeping. I just want to play a clip of Tucker talking to, I think his name is John Mearsheimer. If you haven't heard that episode, amazing episode, especially the second half of it. First half is good too about Ukraine, but second half they talk about the Israel lobby the entire time. And if you don't like me, but you like Tucker Carlson, listen to that, because there's nothing I could really say that they didn't articulate perfectly in that interview. But anyway, here's a clip of Mearsheimer talking about the Israel lobby and saying he can't think of a single time that America has acted in its own interests over the interests of Israel. And why that matters is even if you have a best friend and a best ally, there's going to be a certain point. Let's just say you're completely tired, you're sick. Here's a great analogy that I just thought of, and I'm going to pat myself on the back because I'm proud of the analogy that just popped into my head. All right, that was a little corny, but anyway, imagine you have a best friend. He's the greatest friend in the world, right? You're sick. You're really sick. And he says, aren't we going to dinner tonight? Normally, it would be in your own interest to cancel and be like, you know what? I really wanted to go to that dinner. I know I promised you, but I'm like very sick. I'm on antibiotics. I'm going to get everybody else sick, and I'm going to hurt myself going. I can't do that. I can't drink alcohol today. I can't go out. I can't do that. If this were Israel and America, America would go. They'd be like, well, they're our greatest friend. We have to go. We have to do this. Like, America doesn't act like they're best friends with Israel. America acts like they're a dog on a leash that just goes wherever they're yanked. That's what it seems like. Like, I'm fine with having Israel as an ally. I get it. There's strategic partnerships. There's alliances. They're smart. They're in the Middle East. I get it. It doesn't appear to be a good, fair relationship. It appears to be essentially them yanking us wherever. It's like, I can't move. No, you have to move. Okay, we'll move. And then all the U.S. citizens are like, it's not good for us. But anyway, here's a few clips I pulled from it. And let's take a watch.
The truth is, any two countries in the world are going to have similar interests plus different interests. And the lobby is so effective. It is so powerful. It is so effective that we basically end up supporting Israel unconditionally. What that means, Tucker, is in those cases where Israel's interests are not the same as America's interests, we support Israel.
Can you think of any moment in the last, say, 40 years where there was that clash between non-converging interests, where the United States chose its own interests over Israel's interests?
No, I can't think of it.
So now I want to play this clip real quick that's going viral because I talked about it in my last live stream and I just want to add context. I like Tucker. I almost said Tucker Carlson. No, Tucker Carlson. I like Tucker. I appreciate him. I don't care who he does or doesn't like. Like, he doesn't have to like Nick Fuentes. He doesn't have to like anybody. I don't really like, he doesn't like Mark Levin. He can pick and choose who he does and doesn't like, etc. But here's what I would say to Tucker Carlson as somebody who, because he started talking about the Israel lobby for the first time in the last 2 years in his like 30-year media career, he's been getting smeared as anti-Semitic. Tucker, I mean, he's been getting smeared as a Nazi by some people. Tucker has, like, he's been getting all the worst media smears I've ever seen because he has the balls to call out the Israel lobby. And Tucker is such a powerful person. And, I think the Israel lobby is upset to kind of lose him as an ally. So they're railing about him in the media. Here's the point that I want to make, and that I was making the other day, just to brief it up. I thought it was interesting enough to include. Here's a video of Tucker a few decades ago smearing Pat Buchanan, who was talking about this way before Tucker Carlson, and he's using all the same smears that Tucker is now smearing other people for. So it's like if you're taking all these smears, Tucker Carlson, that you were giving out 20 years ago, this is just my thought. Don't you think you should be a little more cautious to do the same thing that you used to do, with the fear of potentially being that same exact person, where in 10, 15 years, you got to be like, oh, shoot, I was doing it again. I did it again to somebody else that was before me. I did it again to somebody that got things that I didn't get. Because, I think Tucker gets pretty, like, I listen to him. I think he gets pretty much every topic that I understand. He says it in different ways, but I don't think he has very many weak points. But I just want to point this out because it's like Pat Buchanan was before my time, so I don't pay that much attention to him. But seeing old interviews and kind of looking into Pat Buchanan, he seemed very similar to Ron Paul, where he seemed like a pretty nice guy, but he was just talking about the Israel lobby. So, they called Ben Shapiro used to accuse Ron Paul of anti-Semitism and say that he was trying to hurt people of Ben ethnicity. And he was just standing on a stage holding a pen. And Ben tweeted out when Ron Paul was just holding a pen on a stage. Ron Paul, by the way, is like the least scary person I've ever seen in my life. He's like a little guy. And Ben's like, oh, he's grabbing his pencil like the neck of my people. Like, literally, I'm not even exaggerating. Like, Ben tweeted that stuff out. Like, you talk about the Israel lobby and people's heads are like, oh my gosh, everybody's just, they're so desperate to gatekeep this. And, but anyway, here's the video of Tucker Carlson talking about Pat Buchanan in the same way that he's now being smeared, yet he still feels the need to like do this to other people. But anyway, here it is.
I think that people should be allowed to have differing views on immigration. I think people should be allowed to point out the fact that there is an Israeli lobby, and yes, it's powerful, and debate the merits of that, I guess. I don't think there's, strictly speaking, anything wrong with that. But again, I think Pat Buchanan is part of the reason it's so hard to have that conversation, because he discredits it by his presence, because he gives people who watch him carefully the sense that he has another agenda that has to do with personal dislike, and that he believes in conspiracies, and that he believes that the Jews are this sinister, secretly organized force trying to affect American politics. And those aren't discussions I think normal people, sober people should be having, because I think they're ludicrous.
It's the same script that they're running against Tucker now. They're like, yeah, you're not saying it, but people watching you are getting the wrong idea. Or, I think you hate people. That's why you're talking about it. And Tucker will sit there and say, I don't hate people. I don't hate anybody. I'm just talking about this lobby. And they're like, you do hate people because I said you hate people. So just kind of like a thought, just to be, remember what people are doing to you is the same thing you used to do to other people. So I think it would be wise to not, continue to push that narrative. But at the same time, I don't know. Some people have personal beef. Some people start beef with each other. Has nothing to do with me. So I can't really put a finger on how it started or why. I just saw that clip going around Twitter this week, and I was like, that's pretty interesting. I'm going to stay and answer some questions. Sorry about this. This is so annoying. Yeah, I'm gonna say and answer questions, and I guess I got to keep an eye on it. It's not my internet, by the way, folks. Someone said, "Did your mom not pay the internet?" The meatloaf paid my internet. No, I pay my own internet bills. But anyway, yeah, it's a. I have a new camera, and it's like new technology, so it's just not adapting to the server thing I use. It has nothing to do with my internet, to be honest. It's to do with the program I used to go live. I got to figure it out though, because this program sucks. It's kind of like I did a live stream with Clint the other day, and it just cut off randomly at an hour and 30 minutes. I don't know why, but I'm gonna, you saw glimpses of what it's gonna be. I'm sorry for not being as active this year, but I don't want to be inconsistent, and I don't want to be sloppy. So, I really want it to be the next time I go live, everything will be right. It's just gonna take me like days or weeks to figure out how to do this stuff. But anyway, appreciate y'all. I'm going to answer some questions. I'm going to answer any super chats, anything you guys have. I know I haven't been live recently, and I can explain that without boring you. I got a lot of stuff going on, but everything's always evolving with social media, and I only have so much time in a day. So it's like if I spend my days doing an Instagram reel and it takes me a long time, then it's like last year I was just rushing trying to just do videos so much, and I just got kind of burnt out. So I'm working. I'm just doing different work than just doing videos all the time. But I will be back to a better workflow. It's just, it's going to take a little time. Anyway, appreciate y'all. Thank you. You like the background? Yeah, I could like move out of the way. I could like move this to the side and get it fully showing too, but we'll get there. Any questions? And anything you guys want to talk about? Someone said your interview with Clint Rock. Thanks. Yeah, I had fun doing it. I don't know why it cut off, but if you want to listen to the full interview with Clint, you can go on like Apple Podcast or Spotify. It should be all on there, the 2 hours. I think it's an hour, 30 minutes on YouTube. But yeah. Someone said, what is the evil elites framework they work with? I don't know if you know by like framework is in like morals or something. And I'm not going to say every rich person, because like it depends what you mean by elite. But I think the people with the most leverage over the American government, I think they're very ethnocentric people, and I don't think they care about us. I think they're very brutal. I think they're very brutal, and other races and other religions, they just don't really care about. So I think, it's evident in how they treat other people and why things look the way they do. Not to completely blame everyone else, because we deserve our own blame. Like everybody, it's like random people can't make Ireland collapse if Irish people pay attention. So, it's like everyone needs to take accountability. But yeah, the framework, I think they operate in a very ethnocentric framework. So they're basically trying to benefit themselves at the expense of everybody else. And it's not like purposeful. It's like they view it as a team game, and they want to win, and they want everyone else to lose. And in order for everyone else to lose, they need to make everybody weak and pathetic. They need to make your food garbage. They need to, oh my gosh, this stupid camera thing, but you get it. I'm going to read another one. I just got to keep switching between these things. It's so stupid. I don't know why it's doing this, but all right, let me look up some things. Someone said get you addicted to drug and alcohol. Yeah, but at the same time, it's like you cannot get addicted to drug and alcohol. You know what I'm saying? Like people got to just stop doing stuff. Like no one's like making you drink alcohol. You just gotta stop on your own. But yeah, I get what you're saying. Someone said, dang, dude, you got to lay off the meat some. Are you getting chubby, or is it just the camera? It's probably not just the camera, to be honest. I don't know. I think I'm getting bigger. My back is bigger. My arms are bigger. I'm stronger. But yeah, I think I'm also getting a little fatter. So I appreciate the fat shaming. I'm going to go on a fast and starve myself until my face fat goes away. But I could lie and say it's the camera. I'm like, yeah, dude, it's just the camera angle. It's just a random angle that, makes me look that way. Let me see. Someone said, when is Fuentes coming on the show? Would you have him on the show? I would talk to him at some point for sure. I guess there's a lot of people I could interview right now, but like even with this live stream, I'm not like comfortable to have big guests on or do big things because I can't even get it working for myself. So there'll be a time, I'm sure, when me and Nick will talk. I don't know when that'll be, but I'm sure it'll happen at some point in our lives. I don't know. Probably not soon though. Sometimes you take these a-holes too seriously, Anomaly. If I took people seriously, I'd just not read the comment. Like if I was that self-conscious about me being fat or something, I would just ignore it. You know, there's a lot of things I ignore in the chat, not because I'm like mad at it, but I don't care. You think I don't have a mirror? You think I don't know myself? I've definitely gained weight, but I'm also strong. Like when people see me, they'll be like, "Oh, you're getting way stronger. You're getting way bigger." I'm like, "Oh, thank you." You know, but it comes at a cost. I guess you gotta put down the French fries as well. All these seed oils are taking a toll on me. Let's see. Any other? Someone said I heard RFK wants to ban kratom. I didn't hear about that. I mean, I don't know why he would. I mean, to each their own, but doesn't he do like a bunch of random stuff? Like he does a bunch of supplements and stuff, and then he's going to ban kratom. I mean, I haven't seen the studies on it, but or yeah, we'll see. Someone said you do not look fat. Well, someone said my face is getting fat. It's true, guys. I have a mirror. It's not like I've never seen myself. My face is fat sometimes. Like I've noticed that myself. I'm not beating myself up over it, but I have a scale. I have my face. I've gotten a little bigger, not a lot. But the thing is, like, my arms are also getting really big. My back is getting big. So some of it's muscle, but some of it's fat. You know what I'm saying? I'm bulking up, and then I gotta like slim down. I have a mirror though. It's not like someone could tell me I'm fat if I wasn't. I'm not fat, but my face is fatter because I've been bulking up. You know what I'm saying? Like my face is fatter than it used to be, but I don't, it's like I used to be really skinny and I used to be like not that strong. I feel like I'm bigger than I've ever been, but it's not like I'm just all fat. It's like some of it's fat. It's not all muscle, but it's also some muscle, you know? Oh no. Why is this doing? This is so annoying. Sorry about that. I'm going to turn the thing on. I just got to go between the two. It's like I could change it to like my shitty camera and not have this issue. Do you want to look at me through a shitty camera? But someone said it happens naturally with age too. Yeah, but if you're old, you can not have a fat face too if you lose more weight. I think it's just harder to lose weight when you get older, you know? Go get my 12th booster. No, I'm not that trumped out. Let's see. You guys could ask other questions. You don't got to talk about my face fat, but you can if you want. Let's see. Buys a Mac, has nothing but problems. It's not my MacBook. I use a certain streaming platform and it's not reliable. So I got to switch to a new one or figure it out. Cause I could try StreamYards or something and maybe that won't glitch. The camera's right. My internet's fine. It's not my internet. It's the camera and the technology to some extent. So I'll figure it out. Someone said Anomaly, they're trolling you, bro. I'm not anti-troll. Everybody online is like, here's the thing. Sorry, I got something on my lip. Hold on. I got to get this off. It's not professional, but it's okay. Everybody online cries when somebody says something mean to them. They're like, oh, it's the trolls. Oh, the troll. It's like, dude, I have a mirror. I know whether my face is fatter than it used to be or not. It's not like I'm not freaking like Augustus Gloop or anything, but I don't cry trolls. I don't like people that are annoying and do weird stuff to the point where it's like ruining the stream. But it's not like everybody likes to just say everything's a troll. Like if someone says to Jordan Peterson, like Jordan Peterson, now you're lying with Ben Shapiro, he'll be like, it's the trolls. It's like, no, they're actually right though. The trolls are right. You suck now, So like, I'm very accurate with my troll calling. I'm not going to call someone a troll because they say something about my face. Like that's not a troll. It's just like an observation, like I'm not that mad. If I was that bad at it, I wouldn't talk about it. I think it's funny. The browser's limited. Yeah. I got to use the non-browser version, but it's so complicated. This one's easy and I know how to use it. The other one looks like I'm working for NASA and I'm trying to fake the moon landing or something. So I understand that I got to use a new one. It's just when I'm looking at it and I'm like, I don't know how to use this yet. Once I figure it out, we're off to the races. Maybe today's the day. Shame me with my shitty setup. So then I get it done. Have I spoken about the Fuentes Tucker Candace beef? Yeah, I did last live stream. Check it out. And it cuts off at 1:30. You can check out the full 2 hours on a podcast. Do I think they're using weather weaponization? Well, they can cloud seed, and I do think they have the possibility that they could do something with the weather. To what extent they're doing it, I'm not really sure, but I do think they're modifying the weather to some extent. But the thing is, also, like, the Earth is alive. You know what I'm saying? Whether they modify the weather or not, like, volcanoes are real, storms are real. Earth is not stagnant. This is a liberal lie that even some people on the right kind of believe. Like, it's like, oh, it's more than it used to be. There could be other reasons for that. Like, we're not overpopulated, but there's so much more people on Earth now. So it's like, not that we're there's more than enough space in the world. But you get what I'm saying? Like, it's not like the weather's going to be the same all the time. The weather's not stagnant. The calendars are probably not even right. A lot of people point this out, but the calendars are like off, Like, oct means 8, that's 10. Nov means 9, that's 11. Deca, like a decathlon, means 10, it's 12. So it's like I'm not saying they're that far off, but like, things could shift over time. Seasons could shift, poles could shift, storms could get bigger, they could get smaller, rain could increase, there could be a flood. Like, the original flood of humanity wasn't like, some banker with a weather app. It's just like, like, Earth is alive. I mean, maybe it's a banker with a weather app, but you get what I'm saying? I don't know. It could be that, but also it could just be like, it's time for bigger storms. It's time for, a shift in, like, this idea, even like Tornado Alley, like this idea that Tornado Alley is going to stay in the same spot forever. Like, nothing in the world is stagnant. Life moves. Why would a storm be like, this is where I'm going to stay? It could shift over and people could be like, why is that happening? I don't know. Because it just does. Damn it. This is so annoying. Okay. I just got to click the button every 2 seconds. This is so cringe, but I feel like a damn amateur out here. But you could tell, like, I'm going to go to 4K real quick. It's not going to stay, but this is what it's going to look like, or 1080. Look, I don't know if that's even it right now, but it's going to be like super clean, super clear at some point, and we're all going to have a good time. Okay, not that button. Someone said there's zero statistical evidence that weather's getting more extreme. That's pure climate kook nonsense. Yeah, that's another thing too. I don't know the stats. I mean, I do think certain storms in certain areas have increased, but I don't know if it's everywhere. Like, maybe some places are getting more extreme, some places aren't. But anyway, let's get to a different question. Someone said the clouds literally look like the Wi-Fi symbol. Are you talking about those clouds or the clouds in the sky? I'm not really sure. Let's see. Someone said Tucker is the CIA-controlled opposition. You're all being played. I don't know. I mean, I think his dad was CIA or something. But here's the thing. Regardless of whether Tucker or anyone is or isn't, you should be able to, like, not fall for traps. Like, if Tucker's right about a lot of things, but you're educated enough to know when he's not right or something, it shouldn't bother you. I mean, I'm not saying you have to like it and stuff, but this is the issue, I think, with, like, society, is everyone goes all in, where it's like, this is all I know. I'm a Trump supporter. I'm a Trump hater. I believe this. Whatever happened to people just being able to listen to everyone? Like, Trump is the head of the Fed. He's the federal government. Like, I listen to Trump. Sometimes I agree. Sometimes I disagree. It's not like my opinions are Trump opinions. So I don't understand why people can't do that with Candace and Tucker and Fuentes and stuff. I've noticed that some people, like, I get that Fuentes and Tucker are beefing now, so people feel a certain way. But so many people are like, I hate him. I hate everything he says. I hate Trump. I love Trump. I hate Candace. Like, can't people just, like, take it with a grain of salt or something? I don't know. Like, you don't have to like them, but it's like, oh, Candace did this. This was really good. This was really good. But I don't know about the, Macron documentary. I'm just using it as an example because I haven't even watched it. But, like, it feels like people just, like, love to hate. They're like, I hate Andrew Tate. I hate Andrew Tate. Everybody who likes him, I hate them. It's like, you don't have to like him. You could hate him. You could hope he loses in a lawsuit. I don't care what you think of Andrew Tate. I'm not Andrew Tate, and I'm not taking responsibility for everything he's ever said or done because I don't act that way. But, like, can't you understand why people would think he's funny or useful in some sort of ways? And then you could say why he's not. That's just how I view everybody. I view Candace, Tucker, Nick that way. Like, whoever everyone is, it doesn't affect me because I just listen to things, and then sometimes I tune them out when they're not of interest to me, or it's something that I don't need to hear. Like even if Tucker, let's just say Tucker he came out and he said, I'm CIA. Then I'm like, why? Like, what does the CIA want to do with Tucker if that were the case? Because he does a lot of really good podcasts that are really helping people. I don't know. Like, I don't know what the agenda is or if they're gatekeeping with it or whatever. But you get what I'm saying? Like, whoever everyone is, why can't people just listen and make their own decisions without becoming like a full-blown listener? There's something wrong with people in the world where everybody's too big of a follower. Like COVID showed me that. Like 90% of people, it's not that everyone listened, but 90% of people were like, yeah, if they tell me to do this, I'll just listen and we'll all listen in unison. That like as like, white pilled or gold pilled, or I don't even know what pill people are talking about, the positive one. Like whatever optimism I have that people are waking up, remembering what people did during COVID is kind of like sobering. Because then it's like, well, we learned our lesson. Well, you learned your lesson on COVID because it's obvious now, but that same lesson during COVID, have you learned it for other topics? Or did you just learn it like, oh yeah, now I know they were lying about that sort of. Now but they could COVID you with another topic. So, it's like, that's why propaganda is so effective, whether it's controlled op, whether it's a foreign or domestic government or anybody. The reason it's so effective is because people, they're like all in. They're like, yeah, I'll listen to everything he says. It's like, regardless of who they are, like, that's like what I've always thought about Nick for years now. I don't listen to him as much as other people do. Clearly, he's very popular now. But with Nick, even when they were trying to blacklist him, like during the 2019, I would listen to him and be like, I get why some people don't like him because he's very like snarky and he's got that like, same with Candace Owens. She's very like, haha. They love a good gotcha moment. Myron Gaines, Andrew Tate, Tucker Carlson. Trump. Some people are just like, God, like they're not shying away from conflict. They enjoy it. Nick is a big case of that. He doesn't mind pissing people off. Like when he said, he went viral on TikTok because Nick said like, your body, my choice forever. Right? I'm talking about Nick Fuentes. He said that, right? To me, Nick isn't in power. Like he's not in the Trump administration. So whatever he says doesn't matter. Like it's not what the Trump administration is going to do. But when he said your body, my choice forever, I just thought it was funny. Like it was definitely funny, but it pissed off like every liberal. And then every liberal's on TikTok and they're like, I can't believe he said that. It's my body. And if you're in the Trump administration, you probably view what Nick did and you're like, he's a liability because now he's pissing off liberals and he's making people against us. But if you're just like a troll, you're like, haha, that was funny. You know what I'm saying? Like, I guess I just view everything in that lens. Like people get so upset where I could listen to him and be like, dude, he's making a great point on that. I get why he's popular. And same with Andrew Tate. Like Andrew Tate acts in a way that I don't act, but he purposely does it to be funny. And he purposely does it to piss people off because he thinks it's funny when he pisses people off. So the best way if you don't like them is to not like get triggered by what they're saying and just respond in a way that isn't like weird. So I don't know. I don't like conflict. I don't like drama. I have so many things I want to do in my personal life and just life in general. Like the fact that I would want to log into social media and be beefing with people. Recently there was a big beef, this e-girl or YouTuber, or I don't know what she is, like political girl, Sarah Stock or something. Sarah Stocks, Sarah Smiles, whatever. Sarah Smiles is a great song, by the way. Hall & Oates. She got married and she had a ring, and I guess her ring was small, according to some. And and then a bunch like Emily Saves America and other girls were like, "Oh, your ring is small." Regardless of what you think, big or small, it's like I just don't like drama. Like I would hate to be any of these people that are getting in these massive conflicts because I got shit to do after this. I have things that I want to like. I want to spend my energy actually being productive, not arguing with random people on Twitter that I don't even like about a ring size. So, I guess it creates content, it creates value, it creates opportunities. And some people like conflict. Some people don't like conflict, but they're just stuck in the cycle. Me personally, I would hate that. And that's what everyone does. There's so many people that they're beefing every week, every month, every year. There's people that I don't like, but if you notice, I don't get in like a full-fledged beef because it's just like I just don't like them and they're doing other things. Like Charlie Kirk, I feel like Charlie Kirk is essentially, he's like a middleman. the Israel lobby, the Trump administration, it seems like they basically use Charlie Kirk as like a middle guy. They're like, Charlie Kirk has people further right than us, but he also has the normies and the boomers. So it feels like they're going through Charlie Kirk to basically like try to wrangle everybody in and sheep herd everybody. Because like when Trump did the thing where he was saying that you would not be able to get disaster relief funds if you boycotted Israel, everybody in the Republican Party posted about it. Charlie did it. Not that he has to, but Charlie's like a full-time political operative at this point. So he posts about everything all day, but he didn't post about that. The first time I saw him post about it is he was essentially like breaking that Trump was, like Trump had reversed the policy. So it feels like that's not coincidental. Like this is just a guess. But Charlie knows so many people in the government and he's so close to the Trump administration. I feel like they're using Charlie Kirk like a middleman. Like, hey, we messed up. Here, you tell people that hey guys, it's okay now, So somebody has to play that character, but he's just such a phony. And it's like, I just know he knows he's being a phony, but it is what it is. But the point I brought it up is I think he's like a total fraud, a total controlled opposition moron. And, he's like, CAIR is the most dangerous lobby in America. I don't give a shit about CAIR. Know very little about them, but if they're horrible, then, do as you will. But Charlie Kirk, who essentially works for the Israel lobby, is going to act like there's a bigger lobby. Like, dude, he knows he's lying. I know he's lying. He knows that I know, and everybody knows he's lying, but he keeps doing it because that's his job. He's like Trump's little, like guy, and like the Israel lobby's little guy, where he's like, hey guys, I'm on your side. I'm on your side. I'm on your side. Yeah, I'll get him to do this. No, I'll do this. Yeah, H-1B visas are a scam. Wait, you're racist. Wait, no, now Charlie Kirk's racist. It's like he just he's like everyone's little like butler. He's like, yeah. It's so crazy to me because Charlie Kirk is so popular, so successful, right? So wealthy, but he's not a free sovereign man. Like, what's the point of having all that money and all that power if you don't even have the power to be an American man? Like he has the power to be like a little handler. He's like, yeah, like good. That's his energy. Is like he's just playing both sides all the time. He's not. I know he knows what I know, and I know he knows that it's right, but he just can't do that. He's got to be like, the biggest lobby in America is CAIR. Yeah, that's the biggest one. That's the worst one. It's very tiny. I don't know much about it, but let's just say it's horrible. Okay, deal with it as it is. Do they control the media and politicians? Are they passing speech laws in our country? Do they get the most foreign aid? Do they control the Trump administration? Is everybody in the Trump administration doing their bidding all the time, constantly? Like, no, but Charlie can't tell you that because Charlie's also doing that. How is it? Then he's telling on himself. He's like, it's some jokers out here, but I would never get in a full-fledged beef with Charlie because I respect our time enough where it's like, we can debate about it if you want, but I'm not going to go on like a 5-week Twitter rant, just like getting mad at you personally. It's just like, no, I disagree with what you're doing. I think you're a phony, but we move on. It's not like let's argue on Twitter for 8 weeks and get it. Like, it's like, dude, it's people are so childish with that. But Mrs. Madam Name said, people don't want illegals in their country because they are illegal, most costly amount, and contribute little, plus bring more crime syndicates. I mean, I think that that's fair, but also here's another thing too. Like, this is a thought that most people don't have, and they're like 5 years behind. But like, I'll just give you an example. I'm going to use like, let me try to think of like 2 countries. Let's just say like India and the UK. Okay, I just picked 2. Let's just say Indians were coming into the UK legally, not illegally. I know the UK is a lot of like Muslims and other people from like, some people from Africa, but whatever. I'm just using India as an example right now. Sorry if that offends you. I just thought of it. But let's just say like there was a 90% demographic shift where UK became 95% Indian and 5% English, right? Their whole culture's gone. Their language is likely going to shift. Their identity is going to shift. The food's going to shift. Everything about their thousands-year history, or however long they've been around, long time. You can look up how long England's been around, but I know some of their universities are just massively old. Now it's all gone, but it's gone legally. Nobody crossed the border. Nobody came in illegally. There was no refugees. It was all legal immigration. Would you want that as preferred to an English England? if Germany was 99% people from Somalia, but they all came in through a legal program like an H-1B, are you cool with that? Is that what you want, or would you, is it okay because it's not illegal? Most Republicans would say, nah, yeah, I'm not a fan of that. Not because I hate anybody, but just it's just changing the whole thing. Like, I wouldn't want Japan to be Mexican. I have no problem with Mexico, but why would I want to shift the demographics of Japan? So here's a conversation that most Republicans aren't ready for. And anybody that has been ready for this conversation for years has been called a racist because they're 5 years ahead of other Republicans listening to fake opposition like brain rot media. Yes, illegal immigration is bad. It's illegal. It's wrong. You can't vet the people. I mean, I don't need to list the amount of reasons that illegal immigration is worse than legal immigration because it's obvious and there's like no system processing to it, right? But also with legal immigration, it's like if all of our workers are being replaced with H-1B visas and other countries are figuring out how to scam the system to only pay within their own group, they're essentially extracting wealth from you and taking over your neighborhoods. Not to blame them like they're bad people, but that's what's going on. You know, they say you're not allowed to trade within your own group because that's racist, but other groups from other countries don't give a shit what they're saying. So they're only hiring each other. They're only bringing each other over on H-1B visas, and they're demographically taking over neighborhoods legally. So there's a conversation about illegal immigration. That's easy. Any blonde chick that won't pay attention and won't actually say anything interesting on Fox News will tell you this. And any guy in a suit that they've handpicked to not tell you the truth will tell you this on Fox too. Anybody could tell you about illegal immigration. But what's happening, not just in America, but all over the world, there's a combination. Yes, illegal immigration is wrong, but American history is not like the entire history of our nation is not like everyone can come in anywhere at any rate. That was never a thing until after the Hart-Celler Act. Like, you've been bamboozled. They were handpicking people from certain areas because they believed that certain cultures were different and they were trying to cultivate a certain society. And now they're just like, let's just bring in 5 million H-1B visas from this country and allow them to just scam the system and bankrupt American workers. Like, so yeah, there's a very obvious conversation about illegal immigration, but there's a very edgy conversation about legal immigration that most people are not ready to have. And I Tucker's talking about it. Nick has talked about it for a long time. A lot of people are talking about it. And some people, they don't even understand it because they're just like, we're all sure. But, Europe is not what it used to be because they have no loyalty to their own people. And they've become basically, whether it's legal or illegal, like the refugees aren't there illegally. They're there legally. They brought them over legally. It's just like, is anybody allowed to keep their culture? Japan does it. China does it. Russia somewhat does it. Like, every country that does it, we're going to end up fighting because the people that run our country are trying to water down the entire world. And I said it before, but it should be a good talking point for people. True diversity is when you go to Spain, and not that people can't go, but they keep their core demographic. I'm not from Spain, but I don't want them to lose their core demographic and look like a random place in a different country, or just a hodgepodge of everything. When everything's a hodgepodge of everything, there is no diversity. Everything's exactly the same, and it's not the same for the better. You look at some of these cities, they're not better than they were. They're worse. It's more dangerous. It's more crime-filled. It's more dirty. And it's not like, some places can be crime-filled and dirty. Sure, some places could do that. But when everyone is essentially forced to do that against their own will, and they're brainwashed on the media to think that that's normal and good, then everywhere's falling apart. It's not random. The people doing it want everywhere to fall apart, except for where they're from. They're doing it purposely. It's not random, and it's not just the left. The left is the obvious fake opposition that has been so brainwashed by like Bolshevikism that they don't even know they're doing it. But on the right, they're also doing it because they support the people doing it and they fund the people doing it. And they're passing speech laws to stop people from calling out the people doing it. It's not to say that that's the only thing that's happened or it's everybody. It's just, it's a game of like, there's a reason there's a First Amendment, right? Let me give you another example. The First Amendment doesn't say, well, you have the freedom of speech, but you're not allowed to talk about this ethnic group because it's racist. It says freedom of speech. And when people like Democrats try to get into our freedom of speech and they're like, well, that's racist and we need to put end racism on a football field, it's like they're trying to say that they're better than freedom of speech. When the reality is There's a reason that certain people talk about ethnic groups. First of all, everyone's always going to talk about every ethnic group. They're going to say white people can't dance, Irish people do this, black people, Mexicans do this. There's going to be jokes, there's going to be stereotypes, there's going to be truth, there's going to be lies. You're not going to stop that with any sort of speech law. But also, there are certain conversations for a reason. If you look at like the 20 most dangerous places in America, they have certain demographic, patterns. And everybody knows it and everybody notices it. So when you say you can't talk about that because you must just be hateful, you're basically just saying like the free market's not allowed to work itself out now because we've determined that this group needs extra protection from the free market because everybody's realizing that certain things that they're doing are not desirable and everybody knows it. Okay, now society just plunges further. And then 20 years later, everybody talks about it anyway because it's true. It's not going anywhere. It's the same with other stuff. It's like this idea that Israel and certain people need special speech protections because everybody's just mysteriously so mean and nasty for absolutely no reason. It's literally the dumbest thing ever, and it's shocking that anyone believes it. Let me just give one example outside of ethnicity, just literally a country, right? Because there's a lot of people in America that are of an ethnicity that don't believe in this country, and even in that country, there's debates going on. But let's just say the government of Israel. The government of Israel has killed tens of thousands of people. Even if you agree with it, as far as wars in the social media era, this is the craziest war in modern history of social media era. Blame Hamas, blame Palestine. I don't care. I'm just saying, regardless of your opinion or the talking points you heard, this is the craziest war I've ever seen in my lifetime for sure. And it's the worst PR I've ever seen. And people are unapologetically doing things that are considered uncivilized. Not to say they're the only ones doing it. There's a lot of uncivilized places, including in the world that nobody visits. I read online the other day I read in the almanac that 1 out of 4 people in the world eats bugs on a daily basis. You don't even know about this because we don't do it here. But in general, it's like there's a reason everyone talks about Israel more than every other country. They're not spontaneously anti-Semitic and they hate people. Israel has waged the craziest war that I've ever seen in my lifetime unapologetically. Israel has the most speech laws in my country. Israel's the only country, foreign or domestic really, that has boycott laws that you can't boycott them. Like it's so obvious. They don't want to, they want to say that, they don't have a lobby, but they do. And everybody knows it, that the lobby in the media is enormous and everybody knows why. But it's like, so you're telling me that they're going to stop hate by stopping people from talking about this, and this group just, the reason they want so many speech laws and boycott laws and people not criticizing them is because they always knew what they were going to do, and they always knew people weren't going to like it, so it's a stopgap. It's the same way if you're the king of Saudi Arabia, you have maybe and I don't know Saudi Arabia, but it's like maybe you have a law that people can't criticize the king, You can't criticize, if you live in an authoritarian country, you can't criticize the leader. That's America. The leader of America is Israel. They're the king, and they're passing king laws. Don't boycott the king. Don't protest the king. Don't write op-eds at the king. You can't be a citizen of America if you don't worship the king. You're gonna get kicked out of your committee in Congress if you don't work for the king over your own citizens. That's what it's so obvious. Even if you're pro that country to the fullest extent or even live there, that's why so many Americans care about it. It's the war, it's the speech laws, it's the boycott laws, it's the fact that we're essentially peasants and like a colony of our own country. There wouldn't need to be any sort of laws if we weren't being conquered. And we're being conquered, and people don't want us to talk about it. That's what's going on. It's not by everybody. It's not to blame certain individuals. It's just the reality of the situation. That's what's going on. And the fact that Republicans can't figure this out because their head is so far up Trump's ass, it's coming out his throat, is embarrassing. Everybody's starting to figure it out that's under the age of 50, but these over 50 boomers are just holding everybody back. And I love boomers, and I don't want anything to happen. God bless you. I'm not trying to put that out there. I'm just saying, like, wake up. You know what I'm saying? You've ruined our country long enough. Oh, we're the good ones. We didn't ruin it. You raised this generation. You allowed all of this to happen. And now you're sitting at the finish line when your future generations are just going to be buried in debt and inflation. And you're sitting there with a Trump hat on, smiling like a moron when he says Operation Warp Speed is the greatest human achievement in modern history, and saying that our greatest ally needs speech laws in our own countries. You're essentially selling out your future generation sovereignty to say that now you have a king. I enjoyed this free country, but now you have a king that you can't question, that you can't cut funding to, that you can't call out, that you can't disagree with. And then you're just going to sit there and act like it's just spontaneously hateful that everybody's talking about a war. If America, we're funding the war so people hate us, but if America was doing the same thing in Libya and killing tens of thousands of people and it was being televised on social media, people would talk about it too. Same with like the Ukraine-Russia war. Like, they'll be like, why do you talk about this country more than another country? Why do I talk about Ukraine more than Liechtenstein? Is it because I hate Ukrainians? Do I talk about Russia more than I talk about, Belarus? I mean, Belarus is in with Russia, but you get what I'm saying. Do I talk about like Russia more than Denmark because I just hate Russians? It's these people have the stupidest talking about. It's like, why do you talk about this country so much? I just told you why. The same reason I talk about Ukraine more than Bolivia. The same reason I talk about Russia more than Denmark, because they're in full-fledged wars that we're funding with our taxpayer money at the expense of our country. And resources and time and energy and money is going to these countries while our country goes to shit. Let's just say we weren't funding a two-front war against our own interests and against the interests of Europeans. Let's say it wasn't happening. Let's get some councils together to clean up Los Angeles and San Francisco and New York City and lower the crime rate in America. New Orleans is an absolute disaster. Portland's disgusting. Seattle is a shell of itself, and it's embarrassing. And it was a once great city that's falling apart and gross. And everybody just acts like it's not happening. Instead of, they spend their entire time talking about Ukraine and Russia. Oh, we need to give more money. Judge Janine just got there. And the first thing I see her go viral for on social media, she literally just got there. Anti-Semitism is a problem. Anti-Semitism is a problem. We know, Judge, we know who the Trump administration works for, and it's not us. You know what else is a problem in America? Crime, inflation, the fact that the cities are becoming toilet bowls for every race and religion, and anybody that's in there is susceptible to getting their cars broken into. We essentially live in the economy of a first world nation, but it's like a third world country when it comes to crime and filth, and everybody just acts like it's normal. It's embarrassing. It's like having a billionaire. He's the richest person that you know in your entire neighborhood, and you go into his house, and his house is just filled with shit and a bunch of people stabbing each other. That's what America is. It's the greatest and richest nation in the world that's becoming a third world shithole in every single country. Sure, Ukraine can defend itself. Israel can do what it wants. That's its sovereignty to do what it wants. But are we sovereign? Are we allowed to not have speech laws? Are we allowed to boycott them if we don't want to support the war? Are we allowed to cut funding? Are we allowed to focus on ourselves? It's embarrassing. And of course the left is stupid, and there's nothing you can say about them that'll bother me. But wake up, Republican boomers. You guys are holding the entire movement back with your stupidity and your brainwashing. It's like, you don't get this? You don't get this is why the fact we never get anything done? They say they're going to go on recess. It's like so in your face, it's literally humiliating. They go on recess. They won't give Donald Trump his appointments. Trump doesn't care because it's all a show anyway. So he's tweeting out how great of a job they're doing while they're denying him his recess appointments. Mike Johnson tells people he's going to spend it in his district, and he immediately flies over to Israel with a large portion of Congress. Sarah Huckabee Sanders is there, and they're all just sitting there working for the country that they work for. It's pathetic. And Sarah Huckabee Sanders is sitting there kissing the wall. She also passed the IHRA speech laws into Arkansas. Sarah Huckabee Sanders has such loyalty to Israel over America that in Arkansas passed international hate speech laws that match the laws in Argentina, France, UK, Canada, Australia, and all the countries we laugh at for their stupid speech rules. She passed a definition into law of hate speech for one race, one religion, and one country. That's who she works for. It's the entire GOP. They're all a bunch of idiot traitors. And the fact that they just get cheered and applauded because they talk to Maria Bartiromo on Fox News, and Maria Bartiromo sounds like a parrot that they just let out of the cage. Who can listen to Maria Bartiromo? It's like hitting like the top key on a piano, and it's like bing, 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 and you're like, this is a really good song. No, it's not. It's annoying. It's like cats on a she just screams like a bird, and then it's like And then like Sarah Huckabee Sanders is like, well, you know, our greatest ally needs hate speech. She doesn't even talk about the hate speech laws because if she did, everyone would know she's a phony. She just acts like it's not happening. She's like, you know, the real problem in Arkansas is the fact that there's so much hate here. So I'm going to pass new legislation to stop the hate by telling you your First Amendment isn't sufficient and you need special speech laws for the people I get funded by. Screw you. Bunch of birds out here just squawking. Sounds like I'm with RFK Jr. looking at, you know, in like a bird facility. It's a and people are like, this is really good entertainment on Fox. We're really beating up the Democrats. How are you beating the Democrats with this bird content? It's like literally, it's so embarrassing. Did you see what Mark Levin said? Let me guess. The same thing that Ben Shapiro said and a foreign nation said. Let me guess. He's in lockstep with them. Whoa, how'd I know? Maria is useful a lot. I mean, for what? What, like, who watches these shows? It's like I watched The View for 5 minutes and I'm like, is there anyone dumb enough to watch this show? Hey, welcome to The View. It's Joy Behar. I mean, I'm here with Whoopi Goldberg. Hey, guys, it's Whoopi. We're going to talk about Trump today. Yeah, I mean, it's racism. Well, I thought it was more sexism. I mean, did you see Ivanka Trump the other day with Jared? It's like, who's watching this show? At least if you watch like a reality show, it's like, haha, they're stupid. It's funny. Like, are there people watching The View? They're like, oh, I'm taking notes. I mean, Whoopi's going to, dude, Whoopi Goldberg? That's who you're getting your political views from? Joy Behar? Really? And then people are like, well, I don't do that. I listen to Mark Levin and Maria Bartiromo. Okay. That's not much better. It's just the right-wing version. It's like, Polly want a cracker. Maria want a cracker. It's like, dude, give Maria Bartiromo a cracker so she stops squawking into my television. Also, I hope she doesn't hear this because then she's going to hate me, but it's okay. We all know somebody like Maria Bartiromo. It's just, if they talk, like if Maria Bartiromo walked up to me in like a coffee shop and started talking to me, like in the way she talks on her show, the first thing I'd be thinking was like, yeah, I can't wait until this conversation ends. You know, like, come on, you're going to listen to her squawking at you at like a freaking bakery. And you're like, oh, this is really fun for me. This is a fun conversation. That's just mutually, you know, really just tingling me inside. No, nobody feels that way. Come on. Someone said, never understood why people get their important policy position from school dropouts. I mean, I dropped out of college, so not high school, but I don't think necessarily, I think if you're a lawyer or a doctor, you should probably finish school. If you're a doctor, you should definitely finish school, but a lot of school is also indoctrination. Like always read a lot of books. I'm a good poet. You know, I rhyme. I can write well. I'm a good writer. I definitely graduated high school. That helped going to a good school, but with college, I don't know. Like I know a lot of people that graduated from college and they're just like professional. They're just obedient. Like they learn the basics, but then you got to do something with the basics. So I think school is good, but I didn't graduate college, so you could say I'm not smart or anything, but I don't think that's true. And also too, like there's different ways I could act and stuff. Like I'm being myself here, but you know, I'm not dumb. I have good vocabulary. I can hang with intellectual scholars on certain topics, but I also think, I don't know. I just don't think that intellectualism is like acting smart. Like Sam Harris acts smart, but I don't even know if he is smart. Like he seems stupid. So there's a difference between acting smart and being smart and graduating college and intelligence, in my opinion. But someone said almost all of Con Inc. are failed comedians and entertainers. Yeah, I mean, I definitely think there's a lot of that going on, but also I think if you're ambitious, eventually you make your way. People could say that about me too. That's another thing. I mean, I understand it. Like a lot of people are definitely like failed actors and comedians, but you know, for me, like I didn't even mean to do this. Like I didn't want to do this, I guess. It just kind of happened. Like I was rapping and I felt like I wanted to say something and then I just did. So people could say they could use those same things about me. You're a failed rapper. I don't think I'm failed. I have a Billboard plaque. I've played it one of the biggest festivals in the country. I just move at my own pace now because I don't have to work for labels. But I do know, I get what you're saying. I think to be, obviously some people are just annoying and failed actors, but I do just think if you're ambitious and you're like pushing hard, eventually like you'll make it somewhere. Some people probably didn't want to be in politics. Other people, they saw it as an in. Like I noticed there's certain people where they just come across very inorganic to me. It's like they'll basically butter anybody's bread that gives them $1. I hope you guys can tell I'm not that type of person, and I would say no to anything that I didn't agree with. But you could tell the difference in conservative media, where there's certain people, like you said, they're just like actors for hire. It's like, do you want me to be this guy at CNN, or do you want me to be this guy at Fox News? Do you want me to say the talking points here, or do you want me to go there? There's a lot of that for sure. And people are smart. People know what you can and can't say to get certain money and opportunities. But in this day and age, I feel like there's a way to make it. There's a way to fund yourself, monetize without being a complete weasel. So yeah, you should have even less respect for these people now, because it's like there's ways to make it without lying and being weird. But someone said Jesus Christ wants faith, not DNA. I agree. But here's what I'll say too. Yes, as a Christian, absolutely. Like as a Christian, you don't have to be a politician, right? You don't have to be ICE. You don't have to be ICE anyway. But there's a difference between, like, say you're a Christian, right? And say you're a bunch of like black Christians, right? And there's a bunch of white Christians. I'm just using this as an example. There's a bunch of white Christians that want to pillage your village and destroy you and take over. Just because they're Christians, you don't have to be like, oh, well, I don't care about race. It's like, yeah, but there's other, like, there are groups that are doing things like, and I'm not saying it's just racial, but you understand what I'm saying? Like if you're a pastor or you're just a Christian, it's not your job to enforce immigration in America. But if you have loyalty to your country, it is your job to figure out what's going on and be reasonable about it. It doesn't make you non-Christian to notice ethnic groups. Like if I went to Spain and 90% of people were Spanish there, and then I went 20 years later and everybody was African or Mexican or white or Chinese, am I supposed to be like, because I believe in Jesus, I notice no different? I could love people. I could love every race and every religion, but still be like, you know what? I'd prefer Spain to be mostly Spanish, not mostly Chinese. No disrespect to Chinese people, but if I want to see a bunch of Chinese people, I could go to China. You know what I'm saying? Like everywhere, like it doesn't make you not Christian to notice patterns and statistics. It's just the reality. It just makes you fake. You're like, I don't notice any crime patterns because I'm Christian. You're not intellectual or better than me. You're just being faker than me. Like I'm Christian. I love everybody. I don't judge or hate, but I also notice statistics because pattern recognition is how we operate in society. And without pattern recognition, we would live in a jungle. So there needs to be, I build buildings, but I don't notice patterns. Really? Well, that building's going to fall apart then, because you need to literally not only recognize patterns, but implement patterns in order to create a functional structure. So that's the reality, I think, of this. I'm going to stay and read some chats real quick. I just have to pee. I can't hold it in any longer. So I'm just going to try to play like a clip. I'll try to find like the longest clip that I have. Honestly, I think it's one of these Tucker clips. I'll just play him yelling. Maybe it's this one, but sorry. I'll be back. Give me like 40 seconds, 30 seconds. And then for those who stay, I'll just let you know, now's the time to ask questions. I don't know how many live streams I'm going to do this, so I'll read questions that come up, but if anybody super chats, those will get priority. All right, here's the intro video that I had of Trump loving Operation Warp Speed and such.
And, that is a past. Operation Warp Speed was, whether you're Republican or Democrat, considered one of the most incredible things ever done in this country.
Some kind of gathering of top advisors this evening to talk about how to respond to the Epstein situation.
I don't know. I could ask you that question. I don't know of it, but I think here's the man right here. Look, the whole thing is a hoax. It's put out by the Democrats.
All right, I'm back. Sorry about that. Very unprofessional. I apologize. Anyway, let's get it. Read some comments. Someone said Epstein's neighbor. Yeah, the optics of Epstein's neighbor. I don't know the exact thing, so I don't want to misquote it, but I think he bought, like, did he buy the house from like Epstein's firm or something? I got to look it up. Let me see. Epstein, what's his name? Howard Lutnick. Howard Lutnick's ties to Jeffrey Epstein come under scrutiny. Let's look. Howard Lutnick's real estate ties to financier and child sex offender Jeffrey Epstein are once again drawing scrutiny, given the Commerce Secretary's apparent support for President Trump's dismissal of it. A 2019 investigation by Cranes found that Epstein, in addition to his infamous townhouse at 9 East 71st Street, had significant links to the adjacent property, which real estate records show is still owned by Lutnick. Let's see. Lutnick's own link to Epstein stem from overlapping property interests and do not indicate any interactions or past relationships between the pair. Yeah, like, on one hand, it's like that doesn't make him guilty, obviously, but it's just like the optics of having him there laughing hysterically every time Trump talks about it, like they have real estate and ties and they live close to each other, doesn't mean anything. But at the same time, could you not have him there laughing like a little leprechaun? He's like, yeah, it's just a hoax. It's just a hoax. It's not like, it's like, all right, dude, can we do better than that or no? Is it just like a humiliation ritual? Trump wants us to see him just, laughing at us, but it's okay. Someone said the icebergs in Antarctica are 1/4 penguin pee. I don't believe that. I mean, it might be true, but don't make me look that up. I'm just going to say unconfirmed. Let's see. Someone said Palestinian are the real people that must not be named. I don't know who is and who isn't Jewish. I'm not going to say that they're the real ones. I don't know who is, but I do know Revelation said there are those who will say they are but are not. I will make them of the synagogue of Satan. So you definitely don't want to say you are one if you're not, because then you're of the synagogue of Satan. But I'm not going to sit there and tell people who are the real ones and who aren't. I'm not qualified for that. I don't have DNA testing and I don't know the full history of it, but to each their own, I guess. How can the government run the churches when they hate Christ? Everything is against God. Well, we've been bamboozled in this country. Like the Constitution is not separate from God. You understand? Like everything with the founding fathers, they were liberty based, but also they were believers. Like, and they mentioned God purposely. Like there's so many people can be like, oh, it doesn't matter. It's like, well, then you go make a country and take it out of there. But everyone always tries to act like that's not a big deal or that wasn't part of it. It was part of it. And it's the same thing with ethnicity. Like people think, oh, anyone could build all that stuff. Then build it. The truth is not everyone can do the same thing. Some societies build, some societies get technologically advanced, and some societies stay in the caveman ages. Like it doesn't make you good or bad, and building doesn't necessarily make you a good person. But like this is this fake thing that we've been told. Everyone can do what we've done. Then why is Philadelphia looking so shitty? Like the people that live there now didn't build the Liberty Bell. And I'm not saying it's everybody's there's fault because I'm not building anything either. But you understand what I'm saying? It's like, oh, anyone can just do anything. Oh, yeah. And I can be Usain Bolt, right? I could be as fast as Usain Bolt and I could dunk like Michael Jordan. Just like individuals have different skills, so do different groups. I mean, if everybody could do the same thing, then at the Olympics, everyone would tie. It's not a tie every time because certain countries are good and bad at certain things, etc. And some of it is nature and some of it's nurture. It could be debated which is which, but it's just the truth. So then on that note, I feel like, what was the question again? I want to go, I need to go up again a little bit. Sorry. What were you saying? Hold on one second. I gotta like go up. I totally forgot the actual question. Let me see. Hold on one second. Can someone about the churches? Okay. Our liberty-based libertarian republic was based off of the fact that most people would believe in God and be like organized, civilized, religious people. The majority, they had quotes about this. They talked about this. So our whole existence, religion was a huge part of our government, not because separation of church and state, blah, blah, blah. It just was. That's just the country we were. Through propaganda, through mass media, through new age, when things are good, everybody just wants to do their own thing. Yeah, man, I could do whatever because I feel like a god myself. That sort of vibe, it's no secret, in my opinion, why society is falling apart. We had certain rules forever. Now we don't. And now everything's falling apart and everyone thinks that's like not the same thing. They're like, oh, that's just a coincidence. Yeah, it's just a coincidence. We had these certain societal rules for women, for sexuality, for all of these things for hundreds of years. And then we abandoned them for 30, 40 years with fifth wave feminism and LGBTQ plus XYZ. And now it's just random. No, it's like, it's all baked into it. It's like if you come over my house, there's certain rules. I'm not a tyrant, but it's like, take your shoes off. Why? Because my floors aren't dirty and I don't walk around with my own shoes. So why would I want your dirt on my carpets? I'm not mean. I'm keeping a civilized place. It's the same with a country. So I don't know who's running the churches. I don't know who's running the country. I mean, I have my ideas and I've talked about it constantly, but it's like, clearly they don't like Christian values. And if you really pay attention with no hate in your heart, you could figure out why, but I don't care if everyone here is Christians, but I do believe that our society was based off of the belief in God and Christianity. And a lot of the morals and values that we were doing were that. And libertarian and liberty-based societies only work if the people work. You know what I'm saying? No matter how great your government is, I mean, you can really do heavy enforcement, but especially liberty-based countries where the government's not breathing down your neck, right? The government's not mass surveilling you and arresting every criminal with cameras everywhere. This only works in a high-trust society. When America was a high-trust society, you didn't need a camera everywhere to stop theft. People didn't just steal stuff. And when people did, they got held accountable. So this is the issue when people just don't understand, not just religion, but also just demographics. It's like people don't want the same things. You go to certain countries, they don't want what you have, and you don't want what they have. It doesn't make you or them a bad person, but to identify that, I go to certain countries, I travel and go to islands, and I think to myself, this is unorganized. I don't like the way that this is laid out. I don't like the way people live. And you could say it's because of this or because of that or because of economy. But at the end of the day, it's also just because of what people allow and the net sum of the people there. I believe if you gave certain islands to different groups of people in different countries, they would have different results, better or worse. I'm not saying you should do that. I noticed one of the nicest islands, or the two nicest islands I've probably ever been to. I've been to like 10, 15 islands. Haven't been to Jeffrey Epstein's island, and I haven't been on Jeffrey Epstein's plane like RFK Jr., who thinks he needs to police hate speech from the HHS. But in general, I've been on cruises. I've been to a bunch of islands. And the two nicest islands that I've ever been to that were clean and safe and looked like actually livable, it was Bermuda, which I believe is owned by the UK, and Cayman Islands, which I think also is owned by the UK or owned by another country. So it's like you go to Bahamas. I don't know who owns the Bahamas, but it's okay. I don't dislike the people there, but it's definitely not as nice as Bermuda was. Bermuda, everybody knew each other. They were very neighborly. You know what I'm saying? I had a tour with an English accent that like knew all the old ladies sitting around there. And that was baked into their history. Haiti broke independence from France, and Haiti was so bad when I went on a cruise, they canceled the stop in Haiti. They were like, we can't even go here right now. It's like, okay. But everywhere has different like culture to them. And it's not just because of finances and money. So same thing with America. Liberty-based, republics only work if the people work. Once you bring over people that are not religious or are not following religious moral values and everybody's immoral, you have immoral countries. And the only way to get this country back in order, unfortunately, is through authority. I'm not saying authoritarianism, but it's like this idea, and this is a hard pill for a lot of people to swallow. But once you destroy the essence of a country and replace it with people that don't want to, they don't care about the First Amendment. They don't care about the Second Amendment. They don't care about the principles you care about. They don't care about thou shalt not steal from their neighbor. They don't care about this that I made up. It's not in the Bible, but thou shalt not smash a car window. Thou shalt not steal catalytic converters. Thou shalt, you know, they don't think that way like normal civilized people do. It's not going to be, you're not going to get your, like there needs to, unfortunately in this country, probably be heavy law enforcement. It's not that I want that. I understand libertarians and anarchists, but it's just like the reality of the situation. Like you're not going to go to the south side of Chicago and be like, you know, let me show you Murray Rothbard's policies. They don't care. They'll rob you on the spot and they don't care about the book. They want your money or your watch. You know, the only way to get certain communities in order is either people wake up, which isn't happening. People raise their kids right, which doesn't also seem to be happening. It's going to have to be heavy enforcement and heavy policy. You look at Bukele of El Salvador. He didn't do anarchy in order to get his country back. He did heavy law enforcement, and now his country went from one of the least safe place countries to the most safe places. I'm very libertarian, but I also understand the value of who is there. Like it doesn't work if the people don't work. You need like-minded people who fear God, who believe in the Ten Commandments to at least a large extent, not people who literally are like, I don't have any loyalty to anybody here, any neighbor. Dude, the only way to get it fixed is authority. And when authority is used, they're going to treat Trump the way they're treating him. Thing is, Trump's not really doing that much. It's like they think he's going too far. Most people are like, he's not even doing that much. Like, yeah, there's like how many illegals in this country? 5-10 million? Like, I don't know. Someone said nobody owns the Bahamas. They're an independent and free country. I mean, that's the thing. It's like the two nicest islands I've been to are basically owned by another country. The islands I've been to that are independent are like super unsafe and weird and not pleasant at all to visit. I'm not like Bahamas is okay, but outside of like the port, it kind of sucks. Like I'm not, you know, and I love the culture and the food and the people, but it's like, it's just like, you know, you go to Orange County. Like if you go to Orange County, go to Laguna Beach, go to Newport Beach, go to the nice parts of Huntington Beach, and then go to like LA. Ask yourself which one is more fun to visit. I'm sorry, but Orange County is like paradise to some extent, especially if you're just visiting. And LA is like a nightmare. It's like walk down Hollywood Boulevard and then walk down the boardwalk in Huntington or Newport Beach. Tell me which one you like better. Go walk on Venice Beach and then go walk on Huntington Pier. Let me know which one feels a little more comfortable. It's like I don't care who you are. That's how I think about everything. I hate disgusting cities. I don't like islands that are super ghetto and super filled with crime and weird and uncomfortable. It's like, I like, you know, Bermuda was sweet. I had a cool tour guide. He had a British accent, which was cool, you know, and not that it matters because, you know, but I'm just going to like, he was black. And everybody that he knew there, like all the families, he knew some old ladies, they were black too. He went and got a sandwich from them. They were looking out for each other. They had British accents. It was cool. And I was like, dude, this place is sweet. Everybody knows each other. It's like, it didn't feel like everybody was at odds with each other. I'm sure there's some not nice areas, but I was like, how cool is it that my tour guide just knows random ladies sitting on a porch somewhere and they're sharing sandwiches with each other? That's a good neighbor. That's a community you'd want to visit or live in. Not one where there's freaking barbed wire fences everywhere because people break into everything and steal everything. It's like, why do we have to pretend like that's normal? And the funny thing is, people that think that that's disgusting call it out. And then the people that think that that's normal are the problem. They're like, this is just what I like. And then you're like, well, I don't want to live around you then. I don't care who you are. If you think that that's normal, you stay there and you stay out of here. And then they'll be like, oh, you're just being hateful. It's like, what do you think? You're like a walking trash bin? Like you just walk around and just make trash and crime everywhere and everyone's just going to love it? Like I know people that don't trash things and commit crime, but they like living in those areas and they think it's like bad to live somewhere else. But secretly, they also want to live somewhere else. They're like, I want to live in the nice areas, but at the same time, I want to keep my same mindset here. It's like, but nobody in the nice areas wants that mindset, because if they all had your mindset, your area would look like the area that you live in now, or their area would look like your area. It's like, people can't figure this out. Like, Echo Park is disgusting. You go to clean it up and all the liberals run out and they're like, don't clean it up. You're being hateful to the homeless people. It's like, you're so dumb. You won't even let people clean up your shitty lake that's like literally rotting. Echo Park's a great place, but it's like disgusting now. And the liberals are like, I like this. You live in a sewer. You're like a sewer rat. You sit there, you hate yourself. You work at, I want all these homeless people there. I'm a liberal. To me, you're like a literal sewer rat. You crawl out of your disgusting apartment. You look at the disgusting trashed area. It's just filled with just disgusting stuff. Everything's rotting. None of the public parks that I remember in LA, except for a few, I lived in Hollywood. I walked around for 5 years. They're just filled with crackheads. Everything's trashed. It's like the liberals come out and they're like, this is what I love. Ew. That's what you want? I live here because I'm broke. I don't want this. I would live in Beverly Hills if I could, but I'm broke, so I'm walking the streets of Hollywood because I need money, so I'm working jobs. Like, that was my life. For 7 years, I was broke. I walked, I took the bus, I took the train. I didn't want to be there. It's not like, if I had freaking $1 million, I probably would have lived somewhere nicer, but it's all I could afford. But at least I knew if someone like cleaned my neighborhood, I wasn't like, get away. I was like, yeah, get that crackhead out of there. He almost stabbed me yesterday. They were like, I love it like this. Ew. Then don't come to my neighbor. And then they're like, Newport Beach and Huntington Beach in Orange County, it's a bunch of fascist racists. It's like, you mean a clean, nice society where people live in like harmony? And by the way, because of just the way America is now, it's not, obviously it's like a majority white, but it's like you go anywhere, there's Arabs, there's black people, it's like, it's just all the people of every race that knows that LA's a shithole. They just moved to Newport. It's filled with like Arabs and rich dudes from random places. There's so many Asians in Orange County. There's so many Chinese people in Irvine. And you know what Asians do on average? Just honestly, they don't commit crimes. So Irvine just so happens to be one of the safest places ever. It's like, why? Because the demographics there don't commit violent crimes and they don't allow it or want it. So, it's like, oh yeah, it's so racist in Orange County. You mean nicer, cleaner, safer, better beaches and people that are not, obsessed with living in a sewer? Yeah, that's what racism is to you? It's like, yeah, it's so racist. Don't come here for sure. Yeah, stay there. Yeah, no. Yeah, definitely. It's as bad as you say it is. No, live in your sewer in Echo Park for sure. Don't come over here where we have surfing competitions and you could walk on the pier without getting stabbed. No. You don't want that. You want to live in a sewer for $2,000 a month. It's insane. They gatekeep like filth. And then Republicans, all they know how to do is just lose ground. And I don't know, it's a hard solution, to be honest, because nobody wants to really do it, but it's like, and it's like any progress being made, they freak out at you if you enforce the law at all. But, it's like liberals live in a sewer, and then Republicans basically are like, the best we can do is just lose ground. It's like, so then where I'm living is going to look like there in 20 years. And they're like, that's correct. But what am I getting out of it? And they're like, well, we're going to do everything for Israel. That's what we're going to do. So you're going to let my neighborhoods fall apart, and then you're just going to give everything to Israel, speech laws, boycott law. Yeah. All right, well, that's why you're fake opposition Republicans. My mayor, during I moved to a Republican county in California during COVID, and he's like, he's trying to enforce the lockdown policy, even though a lot of people weren't listening. And he's like, it's code orange. And I'm like messaging him. I'm like, I probably shouldn't have. He probably could have like sicked the police at me. But I was like cursing at him. I'm like, bro, I moved to a Republican county and you're sitting here talking about orange code orange. Everybody has to shut down. Like, you're a pussy. Excuse my language. And he's like, I don't want to lose the funding. I get it, right? You don't want to lose funding for your state, but it's like you're willing to enslave your people to get money for funding. What about standing up against that and then getting the funding anyway? And taking a stand. I guarantee you that if you took a big enough stand and weren't a pussy, If you would, you probably would have got the money anyway because it wouldn't have held up in courts. Like everybody who didn't get vaccinated and quit their job, a lot of them got to sue and win. Only if you actually stood up against it. If you got vaccinated, they couldn't do anything for you. But it's like, even if you're a mayor and you don't bow to the tyranny of Gavin Newsom and he tries to steal your money, you could probably crowdfund it off your heroism. You know what I'm saying? People probably could like give you the money and would raise it just on like Give, Send, Go or GoFundMe just because you're not a pussy. It's like there's a reward for being a hero, even if you have to lose it all. But I need the money from Gavin Newsom, so I'm just going to treat everybody like a slave for a few months. You're a loser. You're a Republican. Ew. You're a conservative. It's like, I got to do it for money. I'm sure you do, bro. So does everybody. That's the problem with this country. Okay. I messaged Renato Moicano recently to give him props because he did something that everybody in the UFC podcasting community was like calling him out for. They're like, you're so dumb. To wrap it up, Moicano's a fighter. There was some lawsuit that said that UFC is a monopoly, even though it's really not. But they said it was. A bunch of lawyers just made a bunch of money scamming the UFC and everybody. But they sued the UFC and they settled for like a couple $100 million. So then the UFC broke up that money and started giving that money, like tens or hundreds of thousands of dollars, to different fighters, maybe more, maybe less. Every fighter took the money except for Moicano. Moicano is a libertarian. He's a free market guy. He's a Christian. But he said, I don't want the money because I don't think the UFC is a monopoly. I think they're getting sued by lawyers. Like the lawyers are just trying to scam them. I don't believe that this is a true monopoly and they're lying. So I'm not going to take the money. And everybody said to him, they said, you're so stupid, Moicano. You're such a dummy. They're giving the money to someone else anyway. Someone's getting that money. Like you're just passing up free money essentially. And Moicano goes, maybe, but I don't believe in it. And this is what I believe in. And I want to tell my kids someday that I did this, even though it's tens or hundreds of thousands of dollars I could have got. I don't feel good getting it because it's a bunch of scammy lawyers stealing it from the UFC and giving it to me saying they're a monopoly when they're not. And literally, I couldn't find a single person who agreed with Moicano. I was shocked. Everyone's like, you're an idiot. The UFC doesn't care about you. You need the money. And I'm thinking to myself, essentially, someone said that's not what he said. Then you make a video and say what he said, bro. I listened to his whole interview. It's essentially what he said. I'm not trying to put words in his mouth, but he essentially said he didn't want the money because he believes in free market capitalism and he doesn't believe that the U.S. is like really actually a true monopoly, and he doesn't believe that they've wronged him in any way. Every contract he's ever signed was mutual, and he said he doesn't want the money. If you want to pretend like that's not what he said, you go make a video. No one will watch it, and you're not going to be right anyway. So anyway, I messaged him to let him know. I was like, bro, this is the problem with the world. Everyone says, well, it's money. It's free money. Nothing's free. Yeah, that's technically free. But the thing is, like, everything comes at a cost. That's the world we live in. Well, I just work for this company because they pay me. They pay me. They pay me. They pay. You're talking to somebody who was broke from the time he was literally 19 to the time I was 29, 30 or something. Literally broke, needed jobs, needed money. Yeah, I worked for maybe companies I wasn't like the biggest fan of, but I always had ethics and morals. I turned down record deals when I was 21. I turned down money. I turned down offers. I always thought the same way that Moicano thought. If you can't do it when you're rich, you can't do it when you're broke. Moicano is wealthy. He can turn down money and he's still wealthy and he's still making money. He'll be fine. And it's like the cowards being like, it's free money. Dude's already got millions of dollars. But what I'm trying to say is, like, if you can't do it when you're rich, you sure as hell won't be able to do it when you're broke. If you can do it when you're broke or rich, then you're actually a good, like someone said, the whole society is overly litigious. It's disgusting. Sue, 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 sue. I'm suing my lawsuit. It's disgusting. And when you play a part of it, maybe you have to if you get sued or something. But in general, it's like the reason this all flies is the same reason as during COVID, is because everybody just goes along with it. They're like, it's just the way it is. Yeah, that's why society sucks right now. That's why nobody loves their neighbor. There's crime everywhere. Everybody's getting robbed. Nobody gives a fuck. Nobody's checking. Oh, it's not my responsibility. I own this apartment, but if that happens to you, it's not my responsibility. Fuck you. What about just being a good neighbor and fucking caring? Everything in society is a fucking scam now. Trump's talking about it's the golden age. Bro, everything's just as expensive and not more expensive than it was a year ago. Inflation sucks. Everything costs more and it's shittier than it was 10 years ago. Every food, every building, everybody's building and doing everything shittier than they've ever done it ever. Everybody's cheap. Everybody's looking for a way out. Everybody's looking for a lawsuit. Everyone's hiding behind contracts. This country is a fucking joke. It's an antichrist joke. And then somebody does the right thing one time and everybody online's like, oh, Moicano should have just took the money. That's the problem with, like, these people don't understand people that don't take money. I like to gamble in my spare time. It's not a good habit. I'm fine. I think I'm good at it. I'm intelligent. But in general, it's like I like to do that. I would never, and it's not a good thing, but I would never sell a gambling app to somebody. Not for $1 million, not for $1 billion, not for $1 trillion. If DraftKings and FanDuel came to me and said, Anomaly, we love your channel. We'll give you more money than you've ever seen, ever. We'll give you $20 million to just, show this product a few times. I wouldn't do it. It would change my life. It would change my family's life. I still wouldn't do it. I don't want to sell gambling to other people. I don't think it's moral. I don't think it's a good thing to push to other people. And I couldn't do it. I couldn't do it for $1 billion. They could say you could be the richest person in the world if you sell this gambling app 20 times. I wouldn't do it. I just couldn't. I can't sell something that I think is immoral, and I don't want to push something on someone regardless of the cost. And if you look around, everybody's selling gambling apps. Everybody's selling this. Everybody's selling that. Everybody's a sellout, even in Republican politics. It's like, if you pay me, I'll hawk it. Okay. But that's the issue of society. And I'm not trying to play holier than thou, but I totally get what Moicano was doing because I'm the same way. And the fact that 99% of people were like, I don't understand it. I don't get it. Of course you don't. Nobody gets it. That's why the country got locked down for 2 years. Nobody gets it. That's why 80% of the population got the COVID vaccine. Nobody gets anything. Everybody's just along for the ride. Let me just listen. Let me just scam. Let me just do this. And, everyone's doing it. It's like, what about using your freaking brain? And the sovereignty that God gave you, or the blessing of being in the United States of America and having the option to opt out in a way that you can in other countries. No, nobody wants to do that. Everybody just wants to go along with it. Everything in this country is becoming a scam. Everything they're building, cheaper, shittier, more expensive. Everything. It's not a golden age. And it's never going to be a golden age until, Trump can do some good things. He can bring business back, and he's better than Biden. I'm glad Trump's in office and not Kamala. I think it's better. It's a better baseline to then us, call out. With that being said, a golden age isn't about money. A golden age isn't Howard Lutnick selling shitty beef to Europe and making a bunch of Europeans sicker than they would be if they just ate better beef. And selling Australia our garbage beef. Not that all our beef is garbage, but we have way worse standards than them. And that's probably why they didn't want our beef for such a long time. Plus, they have a lot of their own beef anyway, because cows are not that hard to come by in this world. It's so much so that everybody's blaming them for climate change. But in general, it's like, that's not a golden age. A golden age is not selling a vaccine for Pfizer, Moderna, and Johnson & Johnson to the point where you're making billions and trillions of dollars, but then everybody has this product that wouldn't be there if you didn't do socialism with the government and pharmaceutical industries and give them hundreds of millions of dollars and then buy their doses by the hundreds of millions. That's not a golden age. A golden age is not this fake materialistic reality where everybody lives in I don't even want to say a glass house, but just like a paper mache house that just, falls at the sight of wind. A golden age is having neighbors that aren't pieces of shit. A golden age is going back to a high trust society. A golden age is not having crime in all the major cities. And I know he's only been there in 6 months. And I know he sounds like he wants to get rid of the crime in cities, but it's not all about money. It's not all about business deals with Pfizer, Johnson & Johnson, and Moderna. It's not all about the NVIDIA stock. Oh, the NVIDIA stock's up. Cool. If you own it, you're rich. But that's not a golden age. A golden age is when you have a society of artists and builders who are doing things for our Lord and Savior, who are doing things for God. And in return of doing things for God, they're doing things for the people. Not the builder that says, hey, let me build this building as shitty as possible so there's a bunch of leaks and mold and everybody has mold in their house, but I'll make a fortune off it because I'll be charging $5,000 a unit for this bad boy, and we'll build it like a disgusting, ugly eyesore box that we know is not built well because we cheaped out on all the materials. All the building people were the cheapest ones we could find. That's not a golden age. And that's what this country is. Yes, there's some great businesses. Yes, there's some good restaurants. Yes, there's still people that care. And there's a huge market for people who care because everybody wants to be cared for. Everybody wants foods that aren't just filled with seed oil because it's the cheapest thing. So when someone finally does build something that's golden age worthy, it's great. So yes, this country is great. And I'm glad to be here. But part of the golden age is us being golden. Not us being as rotten as the wicked money makers and then acting like, oh, this is so great. Try to make an industry without scamming everybody. Can anybody do that? I don't know. Like, I'm very grateful, but I don't feel like this randomly happened to me. You know what I'm saying? I turned down deals. I turned down deals that 9 out of 10 people would have took because I'm 20 years old. I have no money. I have no family connections to any sort of industry. Nobody cares about me. I mean, my family cares about me, but you get what I'm saying. Nobody was helping me. They thought I was stupid rapping. They didn't even understand it was working well. And I'm sitting at major record labels and they're putting contracts in front of my face that I'm too poor to even afford a lawyer to read. So I just read it myself. And my parents don't even notice that I'm doing it. So they're not even trying to help. But, you know, I'm grateful that they didn't help, because that's probably why I'm not a piece of garbage. If they just helped me all the time, I'd probably be a special boy that just never became a man. But in general, it's like, I read the contracts myself. I disagreed with the wording in it. Then they didn't want to do a deal. It's the story of my life. I could read. I don't like the way this looks. Well, then we're not really interested. Most people would have signed it. Most people would have done this. Most people would just sell any product possible that they don't even believe in. And that's the problem. And everyone wants to complain about the problem, but then be the problem. Oh, everybody's so corrupt, but I might as well get my dollar in. You know, yeah, oh yeah. You know, the people on CNN are sellouts. You're a sellout also, bro. Look at all the products you're selling. 9 out of 10 of them are garbage. You know they're bad. You would never use them yourself, but you just want to make a couple K for a post. I get it. That's better than working a job. But how are you going to complain about CNN when you work at Fox News? How are you going to complain about Fox News when you're literally Fox News version of Instagram? You know, like these people are, oh, these sellouts on television are corrupt. You guys are the biggest sellouts too. You're sold out to a foreign lobby. Some of these people are sold out to the Trump administration, which is essentially a foreign lobby at this point. And you know you tap dance for them because you want to maintain your social circles that make you a lot of money and get invited to events and be connected to certain people. You're a sellout too. Everybody wants to point the finger. And once again, I'm not a perfect person. I'm not holier than thou, but I am proud that I would never sell certain things that I think are immoral, like gambling apps. I am proud of the fact that I wouldn't sell a product that I thought was bad for people for $20,000. Like, I don't need, money is important. Money pays rent. I don't dislike money. I definitely like having more money, because then when something stressful happens, I could pay it and not freak out about going into debt. I don't hate money. I like money, but it's not the most important thing. And if people think it is, that explains the society we're living in. And that's why the Bible says what it says. The Bible's not stupid, like, oh, go be broke. I mean, but at the same time, if you're achieving money by all costs and you're getting wealthy at the expense of other people, then it's a spiritual burden that's going to weigh down on you. $10 super chat. Some Sane Millennial said, for your morals, you're a rare one, and I try to be the same way. Even in any industry, right? Can people just do good stuff? Like, let's say you're building an apartment or a building. Do you have to build it the cheapest way possible to make the most money? Yeah, that's good for the investors. I understand it. But like, can someone do something great? You look at old buildings and they're better than buildings today. People cared. People actually were like, let me build a beautiful structure for my religion, my culture, my people, for Christ. Let me build this with a beautiful ceiling. It's not like you paint a beautiful ceiling and you make money off that as an investment. It's just beautiful, and then people like it more. You might make money off it, but they didn't do everything for money back in the day. Like, there was actually, people had cultural ties. They had pride in in who they were. They were competing not to make the most money, but competing for greatness. You know, I'm so sick of like everyone just like, how do we get the cheapest builder, the cheapest materials, the cheapest things, and then we'll charge people a fortune to live in them. And then when something goes wrong, like a leak, and there's a bunch of mold because we're purposely doing it because we're just making it cheapest way, we're gonna make them sign a contract that says we're not liable for that. And then if their car gets hit in the garage, we're gonna say we're not liable for that too, even though we built a shitty garage and we have no cameras. And then if they do this, we're like, that's what everybody's fucking doing everywhere. Everything's a freaking scam everywhere. Everyone's doing this. So we're just gonna make it as shitty as possible, but then we'll find a way to make a legal contract to have no accountability for how shitty this is. And then we're going to screw you over. And then if you actually complain and actually get to the point where you do have somewhat of leverage on us, we have a cycle of just to drive you insane and drive you in circles for hours and years and go through customer service and send an email that nobody's going to read, hoping that you literally go insane and stress yourself out so much that you just don't even want to pursue this anymore. That's what everybody's doing on every level. They're like, how can we make you jump through hoops so much that we affect your health so negatively that you're just going to give up on actually trying to hold us accountable, because we know at that point it's actually bad for you too to do this much. That's everything. And I'm tired of it. But it starts with doing something better, doing something better and trying to make it the new normal to not be as cheap and skeezy as possible in every aspect of your life. Nobody has to be perfect, but do something. Do something great. Do something good for other people. Someone said, and it's built on the backs of immigrants that got treated poorly, said Hector. I mean, a lot of stuff is built by immigrants, sure. And people could treat each other better. Don't disagree. That's the problem. No one's held accountable because everything's a legal loophole. You understand? Everything's a legal loophole. That's why Moicano did what he did for what I was just talking about earlier. Because it's like, you don't want to be part of this legal loophole. No one can get held accountable because it's like, well, technically, it's like, then they have so much money. They're probably friends with the judge anyway. But it starts on an individual level for sure. All right, one or two more, and then I'm going to roll out. 2 hours is a hefty amount. Someone said, God wants us to reap abundance. It's a fact. The secret to God's math, don't add. Okay. I don't know. I'm kind of confused what you said. But Stacy with the $20 super chat, she said, you're appreciated. Thank you, Stacy. Someone said, Ian Carroll covers the way they do it legally. I haven't seen that one, but when Ian is in his bag, he's in his bag. Like when he locks in on a topic and really goes at it, he's really good at explaining it and showing proof. I'm going to interview him at some point too. I got to get my camera working. I'm not talking to anybody until I'm sure that I could do a full stream without it like glitching, because that's annoying. I want it to be 100% right. Then I'll never have issues again, but I also wanted to go live today. Someone said, great talk. Appreciate it. Someone said, the problem is that cheap and easy is so built into certain cultures that not doing it as a way is blasphemy. I mean, I don't want to get into all the ways now, but it's like, one, inflation is actually high. So if you run a business, everything's more expensive. So you just want to go cheaper. Two, let's just say you build an apartment building. You're probably, or a new high rise or something. You're probably not funding it yourself. So you have investors. And if you have investors, they don't want to hear, we might not make money for 4 years because we're treating people well. They want to hear within a year, you're going to have your money back in 100% profit. And then also you have the fiduciary duty situation. I think Ford versus Dodge was one of the first lawsuits in this category where they didn't allow Ford to essentially give workers more money because the shareholders didn't want people to make more money because it was bad for the shareholders. So it's like, it's a multi-layered thing. The economy is kind of shitty. Materials are more expensive than they've probably ever been, but also it's like baked into our fake ass country where, excuse my language, everybody like almost has to do it to some, like if you actually are, let's just say you're moral and you pass 80% of people and you want to do things really properly, now you have these weird government legal hurdles to hop through where it's like, even if you want it, like most people don't even want to do it, but if you do have the desire to do it, it's like, they're busting people in certain states for selling raw milk. It's like, you can't even have like an Amish guy that's a farmer selling milk without the government bothering you. It's like, you're in the 5% of people that are like, let me just live off the land and be a good neighbor. And then the government's like, excuse me, sir, did you not read the clause in the state that says it's illegal to sell raw milk? Like, then you got to deal with that type of BS. Appreciate y'all. God bless you. I'm getting kind of tired and I feel like it's been a good live stream. Let's end it at that. Check out my Instagram at Dream Rare. If you want more content, I did a 7-minute breakdown on Trump not really reversing his Israel boycott policy. A lot of people think he did because he said he did. And Charlie Kirk said he did because Charlie Kirk's like his little like lobby guy now. He's guys, hey. But if you really look into it, they admitted that they're actually not going to. And they said it in a very bratty manner. Like they got some brat running the DHS thing. And they're like, we took it out of our wording. But with this wording, we could still do exactly what we were doing because they mentioned the BDS laws and how those are racist or anti-Semitic or whatever. So I did a whole breakdown of that. If you're interested, check that out. And it's a 7-minute video. It's vertical if you're on your phone. So Should be on my Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, etc. I'll be back with more videos soon. And you saw glimpses of what this really can be with the nice camera. You know, once I get the stream down, I'm going to have to like study for hours because it's definitely my browser platform. I need to either get a new one or go through the back end and really actually figure out how to use one of these programs, which are so confusing. And I don't want to rant about this, but like everything's simple now, or should be. Like let's just say like Final Cut. Final Cut is pretty easy, like, right? Like it's not hard to use. The more simple it is, even if you're doing complex things, the better. Apple made a fortune by making everything easier. I don't understand why the browser thing on this is so easy and like drag and drop. But then I go to the back end of the other thing and it looks like I'm trying to fake the moon landing with the NASA guys, you know? So it's going to take me too long to figure out how to use it because it's so complicated, but I'll figure it out. Appreciate y'all.